All right, everybody, we're going to get started here in a minute. If you could please take your seats.
So the judges are running a few minutes behind. They're still kind of tabulating the votes and trying to figure out the winners. But in the meantime, we thought we'd introduce you to some of the finalists so you get to know them before the awards section. Gabe, who are you with?
All right, everybody, I'm here with Iman from Trinity Tube. Iman, can you tell us a little bit about what you're up to, what you're working on?
Sure, thank you. I'm with Trinity Tube. We are a multifunctional feeding tube for neonates in the neonatal intensive care unit.
Awesome. And where did you travel from today?
Austin, Texas.
We got Texas fans in the house? All right, okay. Eric, who are you with?
So I'm with Jake from Oxox. Jack from Oxox, sorry. So who here has stinky feet? Who knows someone with stinky feet? That's what I thought. Okay, everybody knows somebody. It's not me. They're solving that for us. You want to tell us what you're working on?
Yeah, we have stink-free socks. I'm a senior at UGA. Our founder, Matthew Tesfich, founded the socks last year.
Where are you from?
I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
It's really crowded in the camera
Yeah, that's a
shot.
great idea.
So you guys have any other products like underwear, undershirts? For a friend, of course.
We don't yet. We're focusing on the socks, but we're definitely looking into that in the future.
All right, thanks, guys. Could they be the next winner? We don't know. Gabe, who are you with?
Oh, man, you guys, I'm here with something really interesting and something we can all relate to. Beer. Brian, can you tell us a bit about what you're doing, where you're from?
Yeah, so my company's EcoBrew. We're working with breweries. If you imagine a pint full of beer and all the little bubbles rising to the top, that's CO2. Those breweries are spending an enormous amount of money on that CO2 to carbonate their beer, but they're producing more than they need. And we've developed the technology to capture, purify it, and recycle it for them to use. And we're coming out of Birmingham, Alabama.
How awesome is that, guys? Hey, how much field testing have you done?
A lot, and a lot of tasting.
Favorite beer? What are you going to put up as number one?
There's a really, really good sour from Trim Tab Brewing Company in Birmingham, Alabama. We're also installing there, so go check it out.
Let's go, Birmingham, Alabama. Thank you so much. Eric, who are you with now?
So I'm with Anna from Corian right here. So she is a bit of an underachiever, we found out. She is getting her PhD and her medical degree and running a company at the same time. And I found out what her secret weapon is, though. I'm going to tell you. It's donuts. That's what gives her all the energy. I figured this out. So Anna, tell us where you're from. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Sure. Hi. I'm flying in from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but I'm originally from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and we're working on bringing healthcare into the home in a way that's both technically feasible, but also culturally competent, which I think a lot of medicine today is kind of lacking a little bit in. So we are creating an electronic stethoscope that allows anyone to get heart and lung sound screenings from home. If you don't have a medical background, you might not know where to put it. So we've been inspired by Snapchat, and we use an augmented reality software that you can access on your phone or computer that'll guide you through how to place it on your body. So you don't really need to go to med school and pay all the tuition money that us dumb people do. You can just download the app and save $200,000.
That sounds awesome to me. Could Anna be our next winner? Gabe, who are you with?
All right, everybody. I'm here with Anna from Acorn Genetics. Anna, tell us where you came from. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Yeah, so we came from Chicago, Illinois. We are working on a third-generation genetic sequencer, and by that I mean we're basically cutting down the cost of sequencers from $1.25 million to $5,000 with the use of a novel graphene nanopore nanoribbon chip.
I'm trying to wrap my mind around that, but it sounds incredible. What? This is your second time. You're back from last year. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes. So last year we competed. Hopefully this year a little better. Just hoping that our progress and everything we worked for. I'm really excited to see what happens.
I'm excited for you. Thank you for sharing your story.
So Gabe, I'm here with Parastruct. Tell everybody where you're from.
Hello, my name is Kilian. I'm a material science at Parastruct. We're from Austria in Europe. And we want to make use from different waste streams from construction and manufacturing industry, and by this create a fully circular product.
That's amazing. Thanks for coming all this way. Anything else you want to tell the crowd?
It's Austria, not Australia.
Thank you. Gabe, you got anybody else?
Hey, let's go rapid fire here. Tell us where you're from.
From Oxford, UK.
You guys, UK is in the house. Thanks for making the trip, man. Tell us a little about what you're doing.
We're developing a novel therapeutics platform for a whole different array of rare and common diseases.
I really want to learn more about that, but we got to get the show going.
Got one more.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Who are you? What are you doing? Where are you from?
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Josh Devere. This is Josh and Maya. We're Maggenics, looking to implement magnetic targeting into CAR T therapeutics, and we're from Baltimore, Maryland.
Thank you. Let's see. Anyone? We're about ready to go. Oh. Hello? You ready? Okay. All right. All right. We'll do it. Thank you. All right. Well, thanks everybody for being here. Want to introduce you to somebody that's super important and really the reason we're all here. His name's Cody Friesen. I had the opportunity to work with him. Let me tell you a little bit about Cody. So he's the founder and CEO of Source Global, which is we make hydro panels, which are like solar panels, but instead of electricity, we make clean drinking water. He read a bunch of bullets here, but he was part of the named the TR35, which is the top 35 innovators under 35 by MIT's Technology Review in 2009. He served 2 terms on the U.S. Manufacturing Council for the U.S. Department of Commerce and co-chair of the Energy Subcommittee. Let's see here. He is also a Fulton School of Engineering's Professor of Innovation here at ASU. A bunch more, sorry. He won the CES Innovation Award in 2018, won the Lemelson MIT Prize with 500K in 2019, New Energy Pioneer by Bloomberg in 2019, McNulty Prize for Global Impact in 2022, $150,000. He has 88 granted US patents globally and many, many more other patent matters. In many ways, he's not human, but and at the same time, he's the most human person I've ever met because he decided to dedicate his life to trying to solve the water problem globally. And all of those prizes I listed, he took all of that money and put in projects around the world to help people solve their water needs. And he's also the founder of this competition. So when he started Source, he was the one that put his own money, $25,000. So just imagine you guys starting out your companies and taking the first money you got from investors and putting it into a competition like this. That's what he did. And that allowed everyone around the table to come to the table and put their money down and start this competition. So with that, I want to introduce you. Please welcome Cody Friesen.
All right. Thanks, Eric. Eric is the star of this whole competition. He bleeds for this thing, and it's all on a volunteer basis. He has a real job, I assure you. And so thank you for that introduction. I didn't realize he was going to read my resume. So as Eric said, so we've been at this for 8 years, over 1,000 competitors, 37 winners. Of those 37 winners, there's been over $140 million raised after the competition. Much more money amongst other people that were competitors that didn't win. And that's only been possible because, first, this place, ASU, is extraordinarily unique. The school within which I'm a faculty is extraordinarily unique, the Fulton Schools of Engineering. And Dean Kyle Squires, who you'll hear from here in a moment, is a donor to this competition. Michael Crow, our president, is a donor to this competition, which relates. I mean, obviously there's component, there's a subset of you that are ASU students that are competing, but the majority of you are from elsewhere. And it sort of says something about this university, right? Where we are special because of who we include, the ecosystem that we're trying to build, the recognition that it will take all of these brilliant people in this room and many, many more to solve all these challenges that we face as a society. And as I was just saying to somebody earlier, it's like really easy to get a little bit pessimistic in this world. But when you get around a set of people like you, entrepreneurs, who are like clearly have a screw loose because you don't want to just go get a job, and at the end of the day you like hand the keys to the boss and you go home. Instead, you want to bleed for something. You want to live to adjust the world in some fundamental way, and that to me, that's the people I want to be around. Who in this audience has seen the show Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee? Jerry Seinfeld? Okay. What is he always saying to the other comedians? It's basically like, I don't want to spend time with anybody else other than other comedians. It's the only people he wants to talk to are other comedians, because when he's on, he knows what it's like to be on stage and bomb as Jerry Seinfeld, right? But he also knows what it's like to crush it and have people laughing and all those things. And he knows that everybody he's talking to knows what it's like to bomb and to test new things, test new jokes, all of that, and it maybe works or maybe doesn't. The only people I want to spend time with are not comedians, although those people are great too, is entrepreneurs. Because there's something fundamental about the entrepreneurial bug where it's this massive roller coaster ride where the overwhelming majority of the time you are struggling, you're failing, you're trying things, it doesn't work. Somebody was saying to me earlier today, Joy, that you wake up in the morning and you just drink glass. Not drink out of a glass, you drink glass, right? And then you're compelling other people to do that. And why would you do that? Why would you expose yourself to that kind of that pain? Well, it's because every now and then you have a win, and that gets you to the next step, next step, and next step. Eric mentioned the company I'm building, Source Global, which our technology is now in 56 countries, and we've completed over 500 projects, and it kind of looks like a success. But like it's always one of these things that when you tell it afterward, you're at point B and you draw the straight line back to point A. But the reality is that the path was like this, very circuitous. And a lot of hard work, a lot of failure on our way to the success we've had. The last thing I want to say is I think it's super critical as you guys are building your businesses, independent of how this competition goes for you today, to build your company based on culture first. Based on culture first. Because while, of course, it's critical, the team that you have, the team that you bring on are coming on your journey. Their ability to deliver as A players is predicated on the culture you build, right? Everybody's seen in the athletic context when A player joins a new team and becomes a C player, or where a bunch of B players add up to an A team. And that is also true for building a company, and every one of your companies is a unique puzzle that has to be solved. Nobody's built your company before, so experience is important, but the ultimate problem-solving skills of every person and their ability to do so in a way that that leads to success is absolutely predicated on that culture. So I'll give you an example of our first cultural element only, and then we can get on with the show. So our first cultural element is lead with love. And that's a weird thing to say. Like, what does that mean? Does that mean start with love? Does that mean leadership with love? What is that cultural element? I'll give you sort of two ways that we think about it. One is meet chaos with calm. Who here has driven a manual transmission car or even knows what that is? Now, imagine the first time you were going to drive a manual transmission car. You're in the driver's seat, and your brother or your sister or your friend or your dad or whoever is sitting in the passenger seat. And they say, okay, push in the clutch, He puts on the brake, take it out of gear, start the car. Okay, take that foot off the brake and put it on the accelerator pedal. Now start to let off the clutch as you start to put on the accelerator a little bit. You don't have the muscle memory yet, so the RPMs are going like this. And then you just start to let out the clutch a little more, and then all of a sudden it catches, and then the car dies. And now your adrenaline's up, and you're going like this, and you're just shaking. And the person in the passenger seat says, okay, push in the clutch, put on the brake, take it out of gear, start the car. Who's chaos and who's calm in that situation? They know what's going on, so they're totally calm. Your adrenaline's through the roof, you're nervous. Every single moment as you're building your company or trying to solve a problem, you are in one of those two states. You are either the chaos or you are the calm. And you have to, for your team, recognize whether you are the chaos or the calm. And you have to serve as the calm for those in chaos. Push in the clutch, take it out of gear, start the car. Or, if you are the one in chaos, you better raise your hand. Ask for help. It's a very lonely job to go build a company. You've probably heard the phrase, you can be the CEO of a startup or you can have friends. It's not exactly true, but it's pretty darn close to that. The other way we talk about leading with love is what I refer to as the triad of love, which is courage, vulnerability, and love. And that is, it is courageous to run into a burning building precisely because you are vulnerable of being burned, and you would only do that if there's somebody inside that you love. And I'd argue that anything worth doing has those three elements. If it requires vulnerability because you're potentially could fail, you have to be courageous to go after it anyway, and you would only do that if there's something on the other side of that you love. Ideally, it's something more than money, because money won't carry you all the way there. It has to be something more than that. So when I think about leading with love, when I think about all the competitors I was exposed to earlier as a judge, every one of you is just a remarkable human trying to solve a problem that hasn't been solved before in the way that you're solving it, and you're trying to change the world in that even tiny way and leave this world slightly better than you found it. And so congrats to all of you. Excited for the rest of the competition here, and here we go.
Oh man, Cody, thank you for everything you've done to create this incredible event. How awesome was that, guys? So much about what he said resonated with me. Now it's time. I'd like to introduce our co-host for this afternoon, everybody. Please give it up for Tristan Galfini. Gandolfi. What did I mess up your last name? I'm sorry. We're like friends. She's the Vice President of Programs for Phoenix-based nonprofit Seed Spot, a social impact incubator here in the Phoenix region, and most importantly, she's a former Sun Devil. Let's go Devils.
We do leave campus eventually. Thank you, Gabe. Good afternoon and welcome to the 8th annual ASU Innovation Open. I'm so honored to be your host today. Thank you for being here, and a big thank you to all our finalists for making the trip to Tempe, Arizona. Can we get a round of applause? Just for today, the weather finally cleared. We've got no more rain, and you get a little sample of what winter in Arizona looks like. You almost had to bust out your long sleeves to match your flip-flops here, but we made it through. This is the first time ever in the history of the ASUIO, I think this is my 5th year in hosting, where I've felt cold. Like, that's new here. It's very crazy. I think I have to thank California for not only giving us cool temps, but a lot of water. Again, can I get a round of applause for our sponsors? Yes. Because with the help of our sponsors, we've been able to bring 26 teams from around the globe. We're talking 25 different schools, and they've been pitching their groundbreaking products to judges all morning long. To help them achieve their mission, the ASUIO has almost $400,000 in cash today here up for grabs. That's a lot of money, and we're not excited? Come on. Thank you.
$400,000. Let's go.
For the record, For the record, that is the most cash pool ever, not only for the ASUIO, but in general for pitch competitions. Like, we are setting the bar for what pitching can look like. I have to say, it's great to be here with all of you. It's also a big week for tourism in Arizona, rather. We have the tortilla frisbee tournament called the Waste Management Open, but most importantly, we have the ASUIO. And I'd like to welcome our local celebrity, Sparky the Sun Devil. That's it? Come on, he ran all the way up here. Thank you, Sparky. All right, Sparky will be here all afternoon, so photo ops, selfies, please take them, please post them. Look it, how could you not? You're beautiful. All right, I also want to take a second to do a bit of a roll call. Thanks, Sparky. With some of the teams joining us. So we have Europe here today. That's general, I know. Can I get a round of applause from anybody from Europe? We're talking England and Germany and Austria. Welcome. Not all of the US looks like this right now. Let's hear it for some of our US states. So let's go ahead and start with Michigan. Where's my Michigan team? Where? Where in Michigan? Oh, so this part? Okay, the UP, for those who don't understand, there's Michigan's so good you get 2 chunks of land. Illinois. Yeah, oh, great. So spring training starts for us next week. Are you guys White Sox or Cubs fans? Ooh, you're gonna have to go. I'm so sorry. In Texas. Can we get a howdy for this one lone Texas Ranger? 1, 2, 3. Howdy. Thank you. Okay, and to round things off, the smallest U.S. state with the biggest impact, Rhode Island. Where's Rhode Island? Yay! Thank you for being here. We'd like to give a big thank you to all of our teams for participating this year. I'm so happy to have you and to be able to celebrate your growth with some of these new groundbreaking ideas. This event truly wouldn't be possible without your talent or perseverance, so thank you. Hey, speaking of people responsible for the success of the ASUIO, I'd like to thank those who provided the funding and the mentorship today. Thank you to our amazing sponsors. Oh, sometimes they're up there. EC Challenge, the ASU Ira A. Fulton Schools of Engineering, Intel, AvNet, the Pittsburgh Regional Health Initiative, and the Arizona Board of Regents. And of course, Source Global. Hey, Gabe, can you tell me a little bit more about the ASUIO?
I'd love to. ASUIO competition is designed to challenge and advance university college student innovators who aim to develop tangible technology solutions by showcasing ideas from your beautiful brains around the world, from college students from around the world, providing them with mentorships and funding. We hope to empower the next generation of problem solvers. The teams here today represent a wide variety of cutting-edge industries, from climate tech to medical devices and the Internet of Things. It's important to note that all solutions today all have a focus on conscious capitalism. To those watching from home, please follow and engage with the show through YouTube. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Thank you. We want to also take this opportunity to thank all the wonderful judges, all of the mentors, and you, the audience members, who have volunteered to take their time to make this event possible.
All right, Gabe, can you tell me a little bit about the run of show for today, the schedule for today's event?
Oh man, you guys, we got a jam-packed show filled to the brim with a variety of distinguished speakers and panelists. We'll be joined by past ASUIO winner Roy Stillwell. Love that Notre Dame hat, Roy, who will share a few lessons learned along the way and will take a behind-the-scenes look at what investors are truly looking for with a live pitch panel. We have a fireside chat with our lead donor, Tom Prescott, and the CEO of Align Technologies, Joe Hogan. Then we're excited to have our own keynote speaker, Mara Aspinall, partner at Illumina Ventures and professor of practice at the ASU College of Health Solutions. And after all these amazing humans impart their wisdom with us, we'll have an opportunity to hand out $400,000 in awards. Let me say that one more time. $400,000 in awards. And we're going to be in the audience just like we were earlier. We want to provide an opportunity for you guys, to interact with all of these brilliant minds and to chat with the team. So please, please interact, ask questions. We want to get into the thought processes of what these teams are doing and these investors so that we can better understand for future competitions and also just to understand in life.
We just want to know how the magic is made, right? So let's dive in. Today, we're going to start with someone special who sadly couldn't make it here today, but he sent along a message for all of us to listen to. Michael Crow became the 16th president of ASU in 2002 and has spearheaded ASU's evolution into the world's best public research university. He's the man behind the long-standing history of being #1 for innovation. Please enjoy this welcome from ASU President Michael Crow.
Hi, Michael Crow here, President of Arizona State University. I want to welcome all of you to the ASU Innovation Open. This is really at the heart and the spirit of us at ASU. We're a big, comprehensive 80,000 students on campus from 158 countries in all 50 states, 90,000 students in the most advanced Star Trek level online degrees that the world has ever seen developed, coming together for our 170,000 students in our degree programs overall. High rates of innovation, high rates of change, dozens and dozens and dozens of ed tech and learning tech companies that we're incubating inside ASU, hundreds of technologies that we've advanced outside into the market beyond ASU, hundreds of learning technology and educational technology companies that we're working with at the boundaries of ASU, and basically we've constructed ourselves as America's most innovative university in the following sense. We innovate to be able to be egalitarian and diverse. We innovate to be able to be scaled. We innovate to be able to accelerate outcomes. We innovate to be able to lower costs. And so the spirit of innovation is really, really important to us. And all of you coming in from, I guess I'm looking at the list here, Penn, MIT, USC, Michigan, UCLA, Northwestern, and all the other great centers for learning and innovation at American universities. It just really is a fantastic time to come together to see you all innovate, to allow you to compete in your innovations against each other, to allow that process to become informative, not only to all of you, but to everybody that's watching what you're doing, as well as informative to us at ASU as we strive to be of greater service to our country, as we strive to be of greater service to our students and to their families, as we strive to be ever more and always focused on how we can be continuously innovating. So again, welcome to the ASU Innovation Open, and best of luck to all of you.
Michael Crow has been such a transformative leader here at ASU, and he's a big reason why we're all here today. ASU is home of the nation's largest producer of engineering and technology talent, the Ira A. Fulton Schools of Engineering, with more than 31,000 students enrolled, which is crazy to me. I'm from a town of 6,000. Like, what? That's one part. Anyway, okay. The Fulton Schools is one of the most comprehensive engineering schools in the country, with nearly 50 graduate programs and 25 undergraduate degree options. And we have the leader of that school with us here today. Please welcome to the stage ASU's senior, brand new, that's a new part of his title, Vice Provost of Engineering, Computing and Technology, and the Dean of Fulton Schools, Kyle Squires. Welcome to the stage.
Well, thank you. Yeah, all those 31,000 students are sending me email right now, but that's another story. Let me welcome you all to the ASU Innovation Open on behalf of the Fulton Schools of Engineering. You know, the teams have done amazing work to get to this point, and you've heard a lot of thank yous go around, but one more. Our staff, faculty, volunteers from the community, hours getting, here today, hours in the weeks and months that led up to this. Let's thank them right now. Thanks to all the volunteers. So now, as Cody mentioned, this is the 8th ASU Innovation Open. I've had the privilege of being involved from the very beginning in advancing Cody's vision, supporting that, working alongside whenever we could. And it's been, and I use this word deliberately, compelling. Compelling to see the quality of the ventures improve, the impact of the solutions proposed, for whatever problem, really begin to lead to breakthroughs. So to the teams, it really is amazing work, and we're really proud of you. We're happy to host you. We're happy to have you here. Now, in the video just a moment ago, you got a sense of President Crow and the way in which the mission and vision, being an access-driven public R1 university, is part and parcel of who we are. It's appropriate that the ASU Innovation Open be housed here. ASU is #1 in innovation. The heart of innovative thinking in universities across the country is happening here. You're part of it, so we again appreciate it. Now, all of your companies, you're making a pitch, right? You have a venture, you're advancing an idea. I have a pitch. And really, it's an ask. And here's my ask. We need more of you. I want you to pay it forward. I want you to encourage your peers, those coming behind you, to have the same set of experiences that you have. When you think about the journey that you've been on, think about all the startups that have gone by the wayside, that have failed, that have stopped, that have given up. You've learned the value of persistence. You've learned the value of discovering the intrinsic merit in a problem or challenge and really turning that into something that could be, say, marketed, could really make an impact in society. That is an amazing set of, if you will, muscles. We owe it to those around us to encourage them to do the same. So please do that. That's my ask to you. Pay it forward, really engage. Now, in the Fulton Schools, we're very intentional about trying to create those opportunities, whether it's student venture competitions, research, advancing ideas within our faculty and staff, to build this entrepreneurial ecosystem. I'm going to claim it not only makes you a better entrepreneur through all the set of experiences you've had, it makes you a better engineer, computer scientist, chemist, marketer, whatever is your background, you're better for these experiences. So we're very proud of all that you've done. This is an amazing competition. Cody, thank you so much, man. Really grateful. And with that, thanks. Appreciate you.
Oh my gosh, what a phenomenal introduction by Dean Squires. Thank you, Dean. Thank you again. One more time, everybody. So much of what Dean Squires said is relevant to the future of entrepreneurship and innovation. I really loved you talking about pay it forward. It's a central tenet I believe that we should all have. And so I'm going to challenge all of you today to meet somebody, see a problem that you can help solve for them, even if it's identifying some blind spots that they have, and please connect and get together and pay it forward. So thank you. That really resonated with me.
Gabe, when I was an undergrad, I used to give campus tours. And at that time, we had to walk backwards. They get to walk forwards now, but it's a whole new thing. And as a result, I have a ton of random Arizona State University facts just stored in my head, okay? So for example, there is a time capsule just over there with a cookie, Mrs. Field's chocolate chip cookie from the 1980s, and one high-top Converse sneaker. Okay, now when I was on campus 20 years ago, I knew we were incubating chocolate chip cookies, but I had no idea that in the future we would be incubating business. For example, there are 230 startups that have launched from ASU. And on top of that, ASU's Sky Song Innovation has raised more than $1.3 billion in external funding to support innovative student work. Since serving the university, the organization has secured over 1,550 US patents and has closed over 1,400 licenses or option deals with commercial partners. Again, we want to thank Dean Squires. Let's pay it forward. And the Ira A. Fulton Schools of Engineering at large for not only supporting today's event, but for supporting the students on campus and helping to foster an environment where entrepreneurship, technology, and innovation can truly thrive.
You know, Tristan?
I don't.
I have some relevant facts for you, too.
Okay.
I want to give you 3 numbers. Let's remember them 3. They represent the local startup ecosystem here in Phoenix. My first number, y'all, is number 1. Why? Because ASU's number 1 in the nation for global impact, advancing the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Let's give it up for number 1. In fact, it was named by Sierra Magazine as the coolest school in sustainability and rankings. Kind of crazy that a school where 120-degree temps are the norm got that number 1 ranking, so I think that's a super neat stat. My next number, right next to that, is number 5. So Phoenix is considered the 5th best startup city in the US and number 19th globally. My final number, the number 9. Why 9? Because Arizona State University has been ranked number 1 in innovation for the 9th consecutive year by US News and World Report. Congratulations to the entire ASU community. Keep innovating, my fellow Devils.
I recognize a handful of leaders in the audience that are from Phoenix and the startup community, and they're also supporting us today. Gabe, do you have somebody you want to have a quick check-in with? He's on the hunt. Oh, no one's safe. Who you got? Gabe, who are
Hey,
you
everybody.
speaking with?
Hey, everyone. I'm here with one right now as we speak. Everybody, I'm here with Joy Griffin. So Joy has started and maintained and developed several successful businesses. So she has a keen ear as to what's going on here in the local Phoenix startup system. Can you give us a little bit of insight what you're hearing?
Yeah, sure. Well, so I'm hearing that people shortlist Phoenix when they think about places to move or start a business. And so it's not just because Phoenix is the 5th largest city, which we know is an important stat for us as Phoenix. But what we have, especially here, Gabe, is the ASU innovation that we just talked about. ASU is really the Stanford, if you will, for Silicon Valley. There's a lot of startup cities, and we can talk to the cost of living or all of these different things, but nobody has what we have here in Phoenix, which is ASU. We have these engineering students, 32,000 of them right now in our engineering school. And so we have the largest pipeline of tech and talent. And so that's what I'm hearing, is that people are coming here to start their businesses so that they can employ this talent and take advantage of all the things that Phoenix is offering. I'm really excited about Phoenix.
Oh man, I'm excited too. One more question. What sectors in Phoenix are you the most excited about? What do you think has the greatest opportunity that you're seeing?
Well, so, I think for Phoenix, I think the semiconductor, I think that's going to be something that you really want to watch, bringing a lot of business here. We have so much opportunity here in Arizona because we don't really have that many big industries yet. So as they're forming, it's really an opportunity for companies to come here, start up, and make a name for themselves.
Agreed. Thank you so much, Joy.
All right. So next we're going to take a look behind the scenes and see what investors are really looking for. This segment is what we call a live pitch. Here's how it works. So a founder will pitch for 5 minutes. And then the investors, who will be seated here, will ask questions. And I want to reinforce that. They're asking questions for clarity about the business. We're not giving feedback. We're trying to learn more. And then after that, Gabe is going to go ahead and ask the investors questions and moderate some Q&A. We're also going to take it to the audience. You'll get a chance to not only ask our founder, Roy, but the investors questions. So pay attention, because you will get to be part of this segment as well. I want you to know that today's investor segment, there will be no deals on stage. This is solely a learning opportunity for everybody, not only Roy, the investors, but our audience. And so I want you to think less like a shark tank, more like a dolphin tank, right? We're talking friendly ocean animals that are here to help and support. So as a reminder, no deals on this stage. I'd like to introduce our founder, who will be pitching today. Can I welcome to the stage Roy? Come on, Roy. Roy Stillwell is the founder and CEO of Nearwave. His venture competed at the ASU I/O 2 years ago. So he was in your seats 2 years ago. And he won $100,000. No big deal. Today he returns with an evolved pitch, I hope, and a goal of reaching some honest feedback, right? He's a graduate from Notre Dame, and he got his PhD in electrical engineering. Also, fun fact, his company has gone through Y Combinator in 2022. So, welcome to the stage, Roy.
All right, thank you. Yeah, thanks for that very nice introduction. So we should have some slides rolling up here somewhere. What's that? Paging slides, there we go. Okay, yeah. So I'll try to run through this a little, relatively quickly. I think I have a little bit longer than 5 minutes of slides here, but I'll start with what we're doing. So our company's called Nearwave, and what we do is we make a new kind of handheld imaging device paired with AI that we can tell at a really early time point whether a type of chemotherapy is working or not. And so we work in the area of breast cancer. So this is it's a global issue, but I'm just showing sort of U.S. statistics here. It's a $50 billion payout industry, and we have a TAM of about $2 billion in that. So my mother had breast cancer, my grandmother as well. Both of them are survivors, just real tough birds. And so, this is a passion project for myself. My co-founder also, his wife had breast cancer. So, this is something that we're really passionate about working on. And so just a quick traction slide of the neat stuff that we've done so far. So we are a pre-FDA device, and we've already sold multiple of these devices at like $123,000 worth. So if you're familiar with that space, that's very rare. Typically, we have to be post. So people are basically buying our prototypes because they're so excited to use this technology in their hospitals. We've raised a bit of money. We went through Y Combinator, so happy to answer any questions about that. Obviously, they're a great universe or a accelerator, and we've submitted a bunch of documents and FDA stuff that I can answer questions about too. So the problem that we're trying to solve is about 70% of women are not what we call pathologic complete responders to chemotherapy. And so essentially what that means is we don't see a full response after they've received a type of therapy. And so right now there's a time period once you've received therapy where we're not imaging to find out if that therapy is working or not. And there's a number of reasons for that. One of them is it's really expensive to do imaging. So you could do like MRI, for example. That's an expensive thing to do. And so what we want to do is use a handheld imaging device as an initial indication to look at that therapy response. And we have some studies that show we can tell within about a week whether or not that therapy is working. So if it's not working, let's get you to a new therapy, or let's get you directly to surgery. Or for tumors that are really aggressive and we see disease progression, we want to switch therapies to something different in a much faster time period, which is really important for aggressive cancers. And so we have this device and some software that we built. It uses frequency domain near-infrared spectroscopy. That's a mouthful. But essentially, we look at modulated laser light deep in tissue, and we can tell whether or not these biomarkers are changing at a really early time point. So you can think of like functional MRI kind of imaging. And so we generate images that look like this, where we have in this example a tumor in the upper right-hand sort of quadrant there, and we grade these changes as essentially percentiles, so a grade A, B, or C, and we can tell if you're a good responder or not. And so we're getting these devices out there. The devices runs about $30,000 right now. We also have a device as a subscription service as well. And essentially, we do essentially a device with a kind of subscription added to it. So we store data as well as pass this information on to physicians. And so in terms of imaging devices, let's say for a mammography device, for example, or an ultrasound, these are $200 to $1 million devices. So this is really inexpensive in the medical space. Still expensive for you and I. But we'll talk about where we're going with that to bring that price down significantly. So this might be something that we can do at the OBGYN primary care regime. So if you're in the space, you have to work with reimbursement systems. The U.S. healthcare system is a little bit crazy. So typically we'll do a scan, runs about $200 per scan, and physicians can get that essentially reimbursed. That's really important in this space. As they say, reimbursement is where devices go to die in healthcare. So it's really important that there's a pathway for this. And so we're raising money, of course. I'm sort of doing this as a example slide, but if you were pitching, this is probably a good place to do that. So we're essentially doing FDA work with the work that we're doing, and we'll have $1 million in sales by the end of the year. And so our projected revenue looks something like this, a little bit cut off there, but we're looking at about a $300 million ARR by the end of 2027. And so, typically you want to be in the time horizons between, 5 to 7 years for most, VC funding. This is in that sort of ballpark. So we have an awesome team. We have some technology folks. We have some medical folks, some surgeons that are involved, and a number of folks that have had previous exits with medical device companies in our team and in our advising team. And what we see this technology going is we're looking at the standard of care right now to kind of fit it in. And with most technologies like this, you want to kind of stair-step them into your really good indications. So for example, we're looking at sort of a simple indication, and then as we go further, we'll use this in the primary care to look for benign and malignant tumors, for example. We can classify those with a 96% specificity and sensitivity, which is really cool. So you'll see these optical technologies coming out all over the world. So you guys have seen, tissue oximeters that we use for COVID that became really, really popular. You've probably seen some of those. If you've ever been in the neonatal units, they have oxygen sensors on the brains of many neonates. And so these technologies are becoming really pervasive. So there's a wave of these coming out that we're also writing. And ultimately, we want to do screening. So you can use this device for a pre-screening device. We've got some cool studies that we're working on outside the US where there is no access to any care at all, and using this device in many sort of different areas of cancer treatment. So with that, I'll end. Thank you very much. I was going to leave it on my slide here of our milestones, and happy to take information from and questions from the sharks once they get up here.
Speaking of sharks, thank you, Roy. We have to introduce our sharks. Sparky, do you mind helping bringing our sharks to the stage? Yeah, they're going to need some support. Gabe, who are our sharks today?
Oh man, you guys. We have a few really incredible sharks today. We have Ben Brockwell from AZVC, who's the largest VC fund in Arizona. Super exciting. We have Tara Neitzold, who's the associate at Pangea Ventures, and Chris Yu, managing director at Accelerant Ventures. Lastly, we have Luis Hardiman, the director of investor engagement at Realm Spark. Please welcome our sharks. Our dolphins.
Uh-oh.
Oh, they're coming. They're coming. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi there. Thanks.
Sparky, you're not a judge. Sparky. No. No, sir. Not today.
Thank you, Sparky. All right. You guys, how incredible is Roy's company and his pitch? Thank you, Roy, for giving that up. So this is a fun part. All right, investors. All right, welcome to the stage. Thank you for supporting ASU IO. We want to give you 5 minutes to ask clarifying questions and then give feedback to Roy and the pitch he just gave. It's important to note I do want to stick to a clarifying question because I think it's critical that everyone in the audience here, before giving feedback, that everyone in the audience here can track your thought pattern and how you think as associates of your firm. So with that, I will hand it off for any questions that y'all may have.
Hi, Roy. Nice to meet you in person.
Hi, you as well.
You mentioned on the last slide specificity. Can you please dive more into your data? How are you measuring accuracy and precision, and how does it compare to the standard of care?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it depends on the indication, of course. But if we're looking at, for example, I was quoting at the end there, benign versus malignant differentiation. And so the gold standard for that is pathology. So we'll take some kind of tissue sample and then stain it and look for what kind of cells types are there. And the sensitivity and specificity of that test is on the order of 98% for both of those. So we compare, it's a non-invasive technology, but we essentially were within a couple percent of what the gold standard is. So that's sort of how we compare those. And then, the studies that we've done on that, there we go. We've done a couple studies on this, and in terms of how we are, calculating that, we use it's called a receiver operator curve, which I'm pretty familiar with, to calculate what your specificity and sensitivity is based on sort of the biomarkers that you're using. So I can go more in depth with that, but that's essentially how it works.
Hi, great presentation,
Yeah.
Great work. Question around reimbursement. So you have a device and you have a kind of a software service model, right?
Yeah.
The device, have you talked to hospitals about how you would get them through the value committees and what type of ASP you would associate with the device itself?
Yeah, so we talked to a number of hospitals. So typically what we're working with are the surgeon directors and their groups and the budget committees that run those generally, or the oncology groups. And so, so typically this is shows up as a capital purchase on those budget committees, and then we work in the reimbursement costs for each of those scans that we take essentially. So we have CPT codes that are associated with that, and sort of work on that reimbursement. So that's in one model. The other one, which is really becoming popular, it's actually really exciting. Just this last year, there was an FDA folks that were cleared to do X-ray mammography scanning, and they actually include the subscription service into that. And that's the first time it's ever been reimbursed in the healthcare system, so very new. So we're following a similar model and playing with that with different models and different markets, I should say. Yeah.
I have a sort of. Oh, is this on? Oh yeah. Sorry, I have a sort of follow-up question on that. I was curious about on your team. Do you have anyone who's sort of a champion, either on your team or in your advisors, to help you with this FDA process and helping, especially with the reimbursements?
Yes, of course. I mean, it's super complicated. So for those that are in, have worked in healthcare, there's multiple stakeholders that you have to match with. And so, yeah, we've got a team of like 8 folks that are helping with that. So of course, you need FDA consultants. We work with a lot of universities as well and their university teams to partner with them for studies, as well as helping with FDA clearance. And then, separate from that, the reimbursement is sort of like a separate type of deal. So typically that goes through the Medicare folks, and we have a couple consultants that help us with putting together trials for that if it's necessary, or if you can piggyback on existing codes, ideally is what you'd like to do, so that it's easier to get those into clinics. So we sort of doing both at the same time. Yeah, great question.
Amazing progress that you guys have built thus far. So I cheated a little bit. I did take a look at the team bios online.
Yeah.
Impressive stack, especially in the engineering and healthcare fields.
Yeah.
Where do you personally think that you guys need someone to plug in, round out the expertise in the next 6 months to a year?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a couple folks. So we look at in the long term, as soon as we get through the FDA, FDA clearance space. So we're planning on doing that by the end of the year. We'll need to ramp up manufacturing. So looking at folks that have contacts with CMs to be able to build those devices out. So we'll work on some folks for that, but that's a major one. And then developing our platform sort of back end. So we need to share all of this data with physicians, and the physicians want to see that data and use it in these tumor boards that generally are making decisions on care for their patients. And so that back end, some software engineers for that piece. Yeah. And of course, fundraising. Always fundraising. So yeah.
That will never go away.
No, that doesn't go away.
Can you talk a bit about what's patented in your tool, or what the pipeline looks like for that?
Yeah, great. We actually were really fortunate to get a hold of an ex director of patents at Apple, who is amazing. So we do sort of these blue sky sessions where we kind of say, okay, where do we think the product is going? And along the way, we'll start making patents along those directions. So we have so far 3 of those that we put out, and we just were awarded 2, one in Europe and one in the US, just last month actually. So and it's around the underlying hardware that we're using, as well as some of the algorithms that we're using for that hardware. So that's kind of the secret sauce in the device, that you can do these things in high speed. The previous generations of these kinds of technologies are big rack mount devices that took literally PhDs to read the data off in months and months. And we're able to show that stuff in real time and give physicians that data right away. So kind of the secret sauce is in that.
Speaking of the secret sauce, are you doing anything with the data?
Lots of stuff with the data. Yes. The answer is yes.
Are you commercializing the information that you're gathering?
We will. So I mean, that's on our our 10-year horizon is capturing data. So we're planning on, we've got some partnerships, or working on partnerships, I should say, with folks that do mobile X-ray mammography systems that you sort of deploy in, let's say, low-income areas, and so they can scan huge swathes of people, and we want to put our device right in the middle of that to gather large chunks of data. So that'll help with the modeling and getting the sort of AI modeling nailed down. So that's very valuable for hospitals and physicians alike. And so we absolutely will be. The long-term play is really probably the data. That's going to be worth a lot of a lot of good stuff in the future.
Not to be the person who ruins the fun, but I'm going to be the person who ruined the fun. Last question, and then we're going to kind of peel the hood back and figure out why we ask these questions. Thank you.
Thanks. So it's quite unusual for a medical device company to be able to get to revenue pre-FDA.
Yes.
So talk to us more about your customer discovery process. What have you heard from your clients so far? Why are they willing to write checks? And what's the biggest barrier to continuing that traction post-FDA?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we went to, there's another optical technology that maybe people have heard of called OCT, optical coherence tomography. And we use this to measure our eyes when you go to the eye doctor's office. And this wasn't the standard of care for years and years and years. But essentially a group working on that technology put essentially a pathway through the system, which is to get all the researchers behind what you're building, and then use that as your champions, to work with the rest of the the rest of the physician system. And so that's exactly the model that we're following. So the researchers are buying these devices because the technology is really cool. They can do a lot of stuff they couldn't do before in a very high speed, low cost type of technology. And so they want to use them to build studies out, to test this technology out. So a lot of our current clinical studies, which is also really unusual, are paid for. So we're not having to throw down $1 million to do these clinical studies. Most universities are so excited to use the technology, they're incorporating it into their research space. So that's how that pathway is going. And then those champions, when you're working at the best hospitals in the world, MD Anderson, MSK, those folks, as soon as that's been adopted there, it spreads like wildfire to the rest of the group, and that's our pathway.
Thank you. I've heard a couple questions, around solution. I heard data. I'm noticing they're asking questions about things you didn't mention in the deck, and I want to say that that's good. That's the goal. You want people to ask questions so that they can learn more. I'd love to ask you guys some questions. So let's say, I'll go with Louise. Let's say that you were going to go into a deal. What would the first step look like? You've heard the pitch, you've asked the questions, you've done due diligence in some capacity. What happens next for you?
We should have asked about deal terms. And we should have also asked about exit strategy. Investors are going to be looking at those two things, right, depending on the round. And depending on the type of investor. I represent an angel group, so angels often invest with multiple objectives in mind versus a fund that looks for a percentage of equity and a specific return timeline. Can I pass that off to a fund?
Or it could be complete. That's great. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, so for us, we're going to spend a lot of time with you. You're going to be sick of us by the time we actually get to like that closing state. But it also like shows like the true like character, grit that the founder has, like where we can actually help if we take a board position and come in later on. But also like what we like to see, especially in the early phases, where you fall in terms of like just that early startup phase. And then you have like that growth mindset. Like you see your blind spots, like bring in someone from manufacturing and help round out the team. And for us, that's really important to get to that decision point and bring it to our investment committee.
I was going to ask that question because you did. You asked about gaps. Why would you ask or try to fill those gaps for him? What was the thought behind it?
Yeah, so the thought behind that is like oftentimes you have founders that are just rolling up their sleeves. They're doing everything behind the scenes. And they build a company, they get the lift, but then eventually if you're not able to delegate or be aware of like where your soft spots may be, it's a little harder. So it shows that Roy has this down pat and is aware of like where they can actually better the team.
And he can look into the future. He's not just in now, right? He's seeing what's on the horizon.
Exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of things on the horizon, we're going to turn this into an audience Q&A. So you have an opportunity, really anybody on this stage, you can ask questions of. So if you want to, we can pull the judges' names back up here so you can call them by name or ask Roy. All right, so if you have a question, raise a hand. Like this kind sir right here. Gabe, go. Oh, sorry, you're second.
All right, there you go. Please stand up.
So this is a question for Roy. So obviously, since you came to ASU IO, you went through YC. And I was wondering if you could share a little bit, not only about the positive experiences, but what might be limited in that experience. We interviewed last year for YC and found that the terms are pretty rigid. I don't know if, I've heard different things from different founders. I don't know if you found any flexibility with that or, yeah, just your thoughts on that process as a whole would be great.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so we did go through YC. It was, I have nothing but really good things to say about that program. I think accelerators for first-time founder, I was a first-time founder, are excellent in getting you up to speed and trying to help you avoid all the problems that you're going to have. Like, I'm going to get in my own way a lot. And so if you can sort of learn from those folks, that's really helpful. And so what they do a really good job of is pattern matching. So, they have more, billion-dollar companies than any other organization in the world. And so, you can learn a lot from that. And so they do. They sort of like, hey, we've seen a billion-dollar company that looks like this. They didn't do what you were doing. That's probably bad. Do something better, And so you kind of have to have a thick skin to kind of, be able to take that. But I was a sports guy, so it's just like, that's kind of how it goes. Like, that was bad. Do better on the next one, So you need a little bit of a thick skin for that kind of thing with them. In terms of terms, yeah, if if you can't get, it's on the order of 6 to 7% equity, something like this, for between 100 and 500K, depending on the deals. And I think that's a steal for the amount of network that you get, and that's such a big part of your rate limiting thing as a startup entrepreneur, especially if you're doing it your first time. And so having a big network like folks at ASU or folks at your university or through YC makes it a really powerful tool to help you get stuff done. Like I can send an email and, hey, I need to talk to someone with Google support like now. We have something that's broken, and within 2 hours, someone will reply. I know him. Text him, and we can get in really fast. So there's a big advantage of that kind of power of the network. But I would say generally, like I said, that deal. 7% equity is a steal for the amount of upfront work that you get from that group. So yeah.
Can I just mention one thing with respect to Roy saying, equity is a steal? A lot of first-time founders don't want to give up equity. You see it on Shark Tank, and you think, oh, I need to keep 98% of my company to move forward. And yes, you should do your diligence and make sure that you're going to get out of an accelerator program or an investor relationship what you want for that equity. But the goal is always to grow the whole pie. So giving away equity doesn't mean that you can't still lift everyone's valuation, including yours.
Yeah, totally agree with that. And a second that, like Peter Thiel, for example, from PayPal and Palantir and all of these, I think he owns about 3.5%, 4% of PayPal, and he's a billionaire. So you want to be careful with equity, because if you give away too much too early, that can be a problem. It's hard to restructure what you're doing. But I would say definitely that small equity is, that's it's a good deal.
All right, Gabe, are you ready? Yeah.
We got
don't
another
forget
question here, guys.
This kind man too had his hand raised. So we got to get to him. Okay.
Gotcha. Please stand up.
Just question to, so my question goes to, during the slides you mentioned manufacturing for your technology. I want to really ask more about, can you elaborate more on the operations and really how you are sourcing your materials, or how you're convincing investors and customers that you can manufacture what you're basically bringing to market?
Yeah, that's a good question. In the early stage, we talk a lot about building things that don't scale. So what you're doing at first is literally that. We have manufacturing partners that help us fabricate a lot of the individual components, and then we assemble it in-house. We have expertise in optics and a lot of electrical engineering, these kind of things. And so it makes getting those initial, sort of devices out relatively straightforward. And we're early enough that we're still iterating, into, the technology we want to be using. And so being able to have the flexibility to do that is really important early. And then as soon as you're doing, if you go through some regulatory body, you want to incorporate some kind of quality management system to make sure that all of your steps are being followed. All your software is being validated and verified. You have cybersecurity technologies, involved in that. If you have an IT, related components, these type of things. So it's really important once you start building, those out, that you have that system in place, which we do.
Let's take one final question here.
I have a question for Roy. You mentioned that you want to go international. Let's look at Europe, for example. What is your regulatory and sales strategy for going international? Because I think for medical device companies, this is particularly hard.
That's a great point. It is a pain in the butt to go international. So you can get exemptions for research and doing research, related activities, and so that's a way to start. And it also can help you give you an idea to gauge the market. So that's where we've started with folks in Europe. But as soon as you put one of those devices down, you have to get your CE mark. There's a lot of regulatory pathways you have to go through. But generally, if you do the FDA route, most of those quality assurance programs kind of tie over to ISO certifications that you would need in Europe. It's just a little bit more rigorous. So that won't be our primary market by any stretch. We want to do it in the sort of market that we know, which is in the U.S., and then eventually we'll spread out. So, but with that said, we have researchers that are interested in using this technology, and we have exemptions with those particular universities.
to kind of wrap this out, I'm going to go back to the investors, so don't mind me while I dance behind you. Is there a last nugget of feedback that you'd want to give Roy? Anything after you've heard his answers, after you've heard his pitch, is there any food for thought or homework you want to give him?
Maybe I'll start. I think it's really important to get more clinical validation. So your background is on the engineering side. I think having stories and anecdotes that show how an oncologist, surgical oncologist, patient, how they all benefit, even having video of that is so meaningful. I think that gives everyone a sense of why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, great feedback. Totally agree.
Go for it.
Recommendation that I would have, and oftentimes like you see a lot of founders like get out there, they're excited about the actual sales that they get signed and add it to like the letter of intent to move forward.
Yeah.
But oftentimes like don't spend enough time to understand the rationale why someone said no. So really like dig in, like try to get like that honest, candid feedback from them, from these physician groups, like any of like the facilities that would be utilizing your guys' product, and understand that. And if you can round that out, then you're going to have a much like greener pasture like going forward with it too.
I love
great
that.
advice.
Look at your nose. I don't think you get any no's, though. From what I've witnessed here today, there's a lot of yeses. Roy, it's amazing to meet you in person. I got to meet you virtually through Zoom about 2 years ago. Is there anything that you learned today or any aha moments you had from either audience or our dolphins?
Yeah, of course. You know, I think being open for feedback, I think as a early stage founder is really important, and being able to be a teachable, coachable kind of person. That's really important for most of the investor folks that I work with, and that have given us money. So being able to take feedback and use that and internalize it and do something with it is really important. It's not just it's just not going to go out one ear out the other. That's important. So I think all new founders should definitely be taking that to heart.
Wonderful. What about, can you tell us how your pitch has evolved or changed since 2 years ago?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's an easy one. So when you're first doing pitching, let's say in the university aspect, you or at least I spent a good chunk of my time looking at the sort of big picture and sort of pie in the sky type of ideas, like, oh, we're going to save millions of people, breast cancer, it's amazing, blah blah blah. Which of course it is, and hopefully we are. But investors need to make money, so you need to make sure that that you have a really good business plan that's well thought out. That especially in the regulatory space, that you have a regulatory pathway, a regulatory plan. That we didn't have that kind of stuff initially, and so I think it's important to keep that in mind. Where those funds are coming from. If an investor has 10 companies, only one of them is probably going to make them out. So you need to have big markets, big TAMs, those kind of things that we didn't know maybe initially.
Fair. Thank you. That's going to be it for our little live pitch. So first and foremost, can we get a round of applause for our dolphins? Thank you so much for coming on stage and letting us peek into your brains. And a round of applause for Roy and his amazing work. I think more than anything, and this goes back to what we heard at the very beginning from Cody, is I felt vulnerability on both sides, right? We were able to see a little bit behind the work you've done and the risks you've taken, and you guys allowed us to understand maybe some of the things that I wouldn't find on a website about you. So thank you to everybody.
Great job, Roy. Please take a seat. Thank you for coming. Thank you again.
We didn't need it. It's fine. Yeah.
That was so great. I think that really resonated with me. I love the question of what's going to be your channel for sales, right? And so, Roy talking about the champion. Who is your champion? If you all have a startup, this is what you have to think about. Like, who's going to be your OG 10 people that are going to go and champion your device? And you see the success that he's had just by going and thinking through that and really getting those advocates to go out and spread the word about what he's doing. So really, really cool.
Thank you. Next up, we're going to hear from two experienced CEOs. So, as you can see, we've got these two chairs here for them, and I bet you want to know who it is. Well, our first one is Tom Prescott. He's the largest sponsor, or supporter, I should say, of the ASU IO. He's been supporting the work here since the beginning of time. And he also supports many other entrepreneurship and innovative initiatives at ASU. He has an engineering degree. and a master's in management from ASU. He sits on the board of multiple companies, and he's also a large supporter of the Navy SEAL Foundation. He was the previous CEO of Align Technology, best known for Invisalign, and I'm sorry, Tom, I know I should wear my retainer more often. We also have with him the current CEO of Align, Joe Hogan. Before joining Align, he was the CEO of ABB, a $40 billion global power and automation company. He was also the CEO of GE Healthcare. He earned an MBA from Robert Morris University and a BS in Business and Economics from Geneva College. Yes, gentlemen, come on over.
Hello.
Yeah, welcome, welcome. Have a seat.
Thanks for coming.
Take it away.
So, who has ever worn Invisalign? But don't be bashful. Did somebody wear a knockoff product from a less high quality company? All right, that's okay. There was a time when I was in a crowd a long time ago, and I'd say, and somebody yelled out, "What's Invisalign?" So we've come a long way. The thought for this, I've been coming years ago, almost 20 years ago. That doesn't sound like the beginning of time to me, but I was coming into town working with the engineering school, especially on the biomed side, because what I was finding as I'd interact with the students, their view of markets and the external world and what they would go do when they came out with their degree in biomed was they were really good students doing a really good job in school, but they weren't sure what they want to do. There wasn't much of a healthcare tech, med tech environment in the Valley. And so I started bringing in other CEOs and R&D types. And I'd promise them a day or two of golf, and then we'd come over and work for a day or two here. And they started doing the studios, where they were startups in studio settings. And the real hard learning came is when these students got finished with their studio. And by the way, nobody wanted to work in quality control and clinical affairs and stuff. They thought that was boring. Now that's the real leverage is there, right? But they weren't quite ready, and the insight came that, and you all know this now from doing your own startups, this is experiential. You can read every book, and there are thousands on entrepreneurism and entrepreneurial activity. And unless you go do it yourself and it really matters, you don't quite get it. And you don't Cody said it perfectly, I had a Volkswagen Beetle when I was here a very long time ago as a student, and I didn't kill it very much because I knew how to drive it, but the analog is perfect. And until you do it and you have the disappointments and the excitements and all that, you really haven't learned it. The goal here with the eSeed program that our family started 10 plus years ago was to formalize that so that instead of doing studios, to do learning kind of in a broad concept, they had to do startups. And it was rough at first, and the best way to measure this progress was pitches. And so this was a natural feed into when this Innovation Open became a thing. This became a really good way for us, not to just in the ASU ecosystem, but to go out and help compete with the best-in-class university-based founders, student founders. So that's my little journey here. Across the street, they waited to move to Tempe until I left the board, and I think that would have been a really easy drive to work for me from Scottsdale. But I joined Align Technology in March of 2002. It was a public company for a little more than a year, and it was really struggling. They spent a bunch of money between a D round of $80 million and an IPO of 130, and it was almost gone in about a year. This was back when it was grow at any cost and get eyeballs if you were pets.com or whatever. So they had great technology, they had incredible people, and they had a big market that is very insular in terms of dentistry and orthodontics. Hadn't seen real change for decades. So it was really a piece of cake. But actually, we focused the company, strengthened the team, just the same things you're doing right now on a smaller scale. And that company grew towards $1 billion. In 2000, with lots of challenges. We'll talk about them in just a minute. But in 2013, I felt it was time for 2015, after 13 plus years of being a CEO, and I found somebody, always do this, find somebody way better than you. So we were punching above our weight class for Joe. He had run very big companies, but he was still a nerd. He loved materials science and computers and software, and he was a perfect fit, and he's taken Align to the next level. Offices are just across the lake here. But I thought it might be fun for us to share a few things that are still very relevant in a startup, the small startup world, because they have to do with business and choices and the talent. So I thought we'd maybe have a little discussion with you, take a question or two, cover a few areas. But I think I'll start with what you already know, which is this is a brutally difficult time to raise money. And even best-in-class companies that were doing very well but found themselves upside down, needing to raise money, even with great revenue and everything else. But if they were on the wrong side, if their balance sheet was upside down and they were needing to raise money, they got recapped, the investors got wiped out, oftentimes the teams got replaced. Just bad timing. It didn't used to be that way. And COVID hit, and after COVID, we are not in a low interest rate environment anymore. It's really hard to raise money, and it's the most expensive thing you're ever going to buy as a founder, is you're giving away the company with every time you do that. So I think Joe and I both kind of grew up, in business, kind of thinking really carefully about what you spend on and what you expect for that investment. You want to pick that thread up for a second about operating at any scale, at this size as a startup with milestones, or at a large scale, $4+ billion a year in revenue?
First of all, I wasn't much better than Tom. Don't believe that. Okay.
I'm still the before picture. You're the after picture. So.
Tom handed a business off to me that was, close to $1 billion, had a lot of cash, really strong IP, and a really good team. And when you inherit something like that, you have something to work with without having to go back and do a lot of different things. But I just thinking, I've never, had a startup company, but I've always looked at development from a technology standpoint as breakthrough platforms and derivatives. And when you have a big company, you're doing a lot of derivatives, just add-ons to make things better. Or you have a platform, you take it to the next platform. But the breakthrough side is always really critical, and that's basically what you do and what you're trying to do. And you just have to find the right application. I think there's always a danger that you understand the technology more than you do the market. And I see that with friends and stuff that I work with, is you can have the best technology in the world, you can think it's going to work or whatever, but until you go out and see customers or till you face a regulatory agency face to face, you really don't know. And I think you just have to develop a culture that is open in the sense of challenging your ideas and going to the market as fast as you can, or different investors or whatever that have an idea what that is, and listening and doing it with a lot less ego. Just listen, you could be wrong. You could have to take another turn in some way. And you have to do that whether you're at our level and running a big company, I think if you're running a startup too. So.
Humble and hungry is a really good place to be all the time, because you're wrong. Anybody fly, pilot, gliders, anything, how often are you on course if you're in the air? If you're flying in the back of an airplane going back to Boston or anything else, how often are you on course? As an engineer would say, how many significant digits on course? The answer is almost none of the time. You're making all these tiny adjustments. So the more convinced you are that you're doing the exact right thing and it's perfect as a strategy or as a priority, the more likely is you're going off course somewhere. And if you're not humble enough to say, every day, every moment, what little tweak do we have to make? It could be because making decisions has to happen. If you don't, that's a decision and you're screwed. But what you got to do is be able to recognize it's never perfect. So how do we adjust that? 10 degrees, 5 degrees, 30 degrees. That's not failure, that's active management. And especially when you're young and you've put all your effort into some big milestone, and there's all of a sudden the door's locked, you're going, now what do? We can't start over. The answer is back up far enough, figure it out, take another approach, and move quickly. And you just learned something really important. That path is not going to work. So that's actually, the sooner you can be aware of that and honest about it with yourselves and your team, that's not failure. That's actually, doing your job at any scale.
I think the ego thing is, I work with a lot of engineers in my life. I have electronics degree that I don't talk about. But it's really hard to have someone call your baby ugly. It really is. And you want to defend it, and you're right or whatever. But that humbleness Tom's talking about, that the market will often give to you, or other experts will often give to you, seek it out. Don't wait till it's too late to do it. I think about, Smile Direct Club was a competitor of ours. He went directly to consumers, and at one point they had a $10 billion market cap, and it looked like they were the smartest people on earth. But we knew two things: that they had no technology, basically, and they had no field sales force. And that $10 billion is worth nothing now. And if they would have faced that early on in their development, they could have figured it out, but they didn't. They thought they were smarter than the marketplace. So it's hard, but it's always just keep your ears open, eyes open, challenge yourself. Don't be over this spec that was just introduced by our Notre Dame. Tom and I grew up in medical imaging. We know spec, we know ultrasound, we know MRI or whatever. When you hear a pitch like that, you think of 10 different things, right? And so it's just, there's just so many smart people out there. And the market itself has the answers. It's just seek it. Don't seek confirmation.
So back to the grind. You already have jobs. Your student founders, one more, all of your team members are in school, bachelor's, master's, post-master's level. Some of you are working part-time. Some of you are working full-time to bootstrap what you're doing. This thing has to matter that much to you or it won't move forward. That's the level of commitment, block out the sun kind of importance in your world. And if you start to think about that in the context of how hard it is to get funding these days, friends, family, non-dilutive financing like programs like this, if you like to read, there's a Clayton Christensen is a famous author. I got to know him because one of our board members was very close friends with him. And every time I'd go through Boston on business, they'd say, come out and have lunch with us. And it was a beating. They would take apart everything we were doing and give us 10 reasons why it couldn't be successful. It was humbling. Yeah, humbling can go too far too, so it beats you up. But the thing Clayton always said, this was back at a time, 10, 15 years ago, when everybody was trying to build a unicorn. Money was very cheap, and it was all how fast can you get the maximum amount of revenue. And he said, especially in the early days, when there's important seminal things you're going to find out that become foundational for your business, be patient for revenue and growth. Be impatient. He called it for profit, but it really means a manageable burn in the context of what you guys are doing. So when you're getting pushed by some advisors, maybe the answer is right to go and say, boy, it's time we really need to invest in growth, but be conscious of being in control of your own destiny with the cash you've got and how you see it's going to get you to your milestones. Make sense? Why don't we pivot to talent? Why don't you pick that up? Because it's the same issue, whether it's 3 or 4 people around a table in somebody's garage starting your startup or your dorm room or whatever, or it's a big company.
Well, the talent piece is, I can imagine in a startup too, I mean, it's probably really thin. So you're going to have to find people that really understand the technology or really understand the market and what moves forward. But at the same time even in a small area, you'll run over people that are in the startup first. Part of what Tom and I do is we grow businesses. You often have to replace your team after 5 years because the business gets to a point where the skill base of your team is just not what it should be, and you have to go out and seek people that understand what that scale is and what it is. And so you have to fall in love with your business and fall in love with your team, but never too much not to be objective in the sense if you have the right mission and you have the right people. And that always forms a culture, and that culture has to be around your mission, and people have to love it and believe in it. But it always ready to pivot as the market and technology forces you to or pushes you to in some way. And so, and that as a leader of that team too, more often than not, you have to drag that team along with you if you see that kind of a change in a market.
It's true of the leader. Let's say your dreams come true, you get your A round, you're starting to get revenue, you're growing, you're maybe far enough along to start having some discussions with strategics about an investment or even an exit, and it's like all of a sudden it's pretty heady, and then you're looking around and because you're having all these really interesting discussions, but then you realize that some of these parts of your little business aren't going very well. And the question is, what is your system and process for the cadence of managing what has to happen on time, make those trains run? And oftentimes, it's hard to establish that discipline and set of processes for a very young company, unless one of you had some experience. So there are times, there will be a moment of truth. Joe, already alluded to it. You'll work around the table, and 3 or 4 of you, at one point, a couple of you might talk and say, boy, Tom, he's really dragging us down. I mean, he's a great guy. I love him, but, time to move on. I mean, that's pretty cold-hearted, but at some point, the first thing you do is try and help Tom moving along and be better and get those things done. But you will run out of runway on most of you at some point in time. And it comes all the way around to whoever is the CEO too. Does the CEO have the experience to see around corners? Is it a time for you when it's time to bring in an experienced operator to get that revenue to the next level and grow, and have the CEO move over to be the CTO or something else, head of R&D? These are things, these are problems I hope and pray you have, because they are problems of success. But they will be, I've always said it's better to have problems of growth than problems of not growth. And so I'm just saying, as you honestly look around at the team that got you here, can they get you to your first 10 million in revenue, the first 100 million in revenue? The answer is you need a whole lot of different people. And with every layer of the organization, growth comes along, things you haven't seen or done before. So I'd say, again, going back to, if you can't figure out what the problem is, and you're looking at everybody else around the table, it's probably you. So at any rate, see, going back to humility, be ready to ask yourself, riding your bike home at night or whatever, am I the problem? And by the way, what help can I get? Do we have an advisor we can lean on that's been through this cycle before? So, because it does come back to talent, and if you have the right talent, you can build the right culture and that purpose and passion that Cody and others have talked about. We don't have too much time, but we went through a succession process in a public company, which is complicated. But for me doing that, we were punching above our weight class when we got Joe, and I knew most of the people, the individuals that we were looking at as potential candidates. They all ran other public companies, and I just wasn't thrilled. I saw there was so much more for Align Technology that I didn't think any one of those people would go exploit and do. And it just turned out it was a great fit for Joe. And he was ready he was ready to get rid of a $40 billion a year in revenue company. I think the company ran him sometimes, and it just worked out. It was perfect. But this idea, if you think about succession, ought to be central, because who do you have on the team at any point in time? That's always one of your most important questions. And you've already maybe gone through, to get to this point, one or two people that dropped off. They weren't committed. They weren't making this important enough. And if they can't do that, then they're probably not going to get you to the next level anyways. But talent comes first.
Yeah, as Tom says that too, and as much as I can help. So I ran ABB in Zurich, Switzerland, $40 billion company, 200,000 employees, robotics, power transmission, different kind of IT systems for reactors in different areas. Before that, I ran GE Healthcare. They're $18 billion. I don't know, we had 40,000 people, whatever. I don't care about any of that. As I came to Align, it was relatively small. This is the most fun job I've ever had in my life. It is. And it's because the business is relatively smaller. It's more intimate. I feel like there's a really good purpose in the business overall, and what we do and how we change people's lives with a smile. And the technology is fascinating. We're the biggest 3D printing company in the world. But we don't 3D print anything directly. We print molds and vacuum form plastic over top it, because the 3D printing industry hasn't figured out a resin that can actually move teeth the way we have. And we think we figured that out with about $300 million in 6 years to do that. But I just end here by saying this. One thing is I try to relate with you is business is science. In a lot of ways, it's technology, it's a science of management and all those things. But what Tom and I are talking about, it's emotional. It's incredibly emotional. And most people look at business like it's some kind of automaton in some way, and it just kind of lumbers forward in some way. It's a collection of people, emotions, and beliefs, no matter what area it is. And I'm saying, don't forget that in yourself and in your team. Those emotions are such drivers, and it's the beautiful part about business. Is there's so many people wrapped up into it that really believe in what they want to do and that mission you want to accomplish. And that's, to me, is the beauty and the foundation of business.
Getting a regular paycheck is pretty good too, and that's coming for some of these startups at some point. But I will tell you, if I look back over 40 years, that's the beginning of time. My lovely host said 20 years was, but I will tell you what I remember more than big milestones or share price or whatever. I remember the people. And I think the winnowing process for you to have the people around you that can help you be the best version of yourself is a really big part of building that culture. And it's that honest, open, you all have strengths. hopefully you're all different people and you don't think the same. Sometimes a very tech-oriented company has to get poets on board somehow because you've got quants. But I'm just saying is the thing I hope you'll look back on is the journey, not the destination being cash or a specific milestone, but on the good days, that journey was easier to handle. It was great to handle as the party. On the bad days, it made it bearable because you were shoulder to shoulder with your teammates. So I'm mindful of time here, and maybe I'll take a question or two if someone wants to pop up. If it's a hard one, go to Joe, please. Go ahead. Just yell. Okay.
So I feel like I speak for everybody here when you really feel the hardships of building a company and you feel like you're really in the weeds most of the time. So I was wondering if you could just kind of like, I don't know, maybe break down the third wall a little bit and resonate with us. Like, can you speak about when you felt like you were at your lowest and when you feel like you weren't going to make it out of the weeds and kind of how you managed to come through that? Thank you guys very much, by the way, for keeping me.
Tommy has the best story in the world.
No. If you don't feel broken sometimes, you will. Everything is against you. And what I'd say to you is, just remember, it's never as bad as people say it is, and it's never as good as you think it is. In the best days, you go, oh, I'm the man. We got this covered. You're wrong. But you got to remember, there's always a way through, no matter how dark it is, and no matter how tired you are, and everything else. But again, you're not alone if you've got a small group. Look, at Align, we almost ran out of money as a public company. And we had to do what's called a PIPE late in 2002. And the stock was as low as $1.26. And if we had done a normal PIPE, it's a public investment in a private investment in a public equity. It's not like you would sell shares on the market. So usually when you do a PIPE, you have to discount it. So say that's $70 for every share you buy, and then you issue warrants, and there's another 30 cents. And all of a sudden, our stock is valued at 40 cents instead of $1.26 at the time because of financial overhang. It had gone from $8 to $1.26 because of financial overhang. There was a chance we could run out of money. I knew it wasn't going to happen. We were going to make it with $15 million in the bank at the end of the year. But we had to do it. So the reality is, I got to one investor, and I got them to say, this is crazy. We're not going to do this deeply discounted PIPE. It'll crush the company. We'll do a reverse split. I'll lose employees. And I won't tell you the whole bloody story, but one investor said, what do you need? I said, how about a $2 a share? They go, ooh, that's a huge premium over what it's trading. We did $1.90, no warrants, locked everybody up for a year, which is a way of saying to the market, nobody's going to flip these shares. And a year later, the stock was 18. It was only financing risk. This is part of why, and if there's bankers here, I'm sorry. Bankers never want to give you money unless you don't really need it. When they really need money, they don't want to give you money because they go, well, this is risky. Right now, unfortunately, many VCs are in the same mode. Risk capital has shifted away. And so you're got to deal with that reality in this environment. But I've always been very thoughtful about making sure we had good cash flow and everything else. But there were times when it was, I wasn't sure we were going to make it. And we had enormous intellectual property litigation with the next founder that was beyond belief. And you just have to stay on your feet, absorb it, and use your teammates around you to get through it. And sometimes the choices you make when things are really against you are part of what builds that really strong foundation for the future. You go, we got this. So, all right? Keep the faith. One more maybe. We got to move. Yeah.
Yeah, the question is decision making in the sense of you're going to have a lot of divergent ideas and directions, and how do you really make that decision? Again, a lot of it's intuitive, based on what you know and what you know about the people that are giving you that data and how you go about it. But the best way I can answer it is you have to really do your homework and be brave enough if it could be somebody, even an investor that you really believe in, and you don't want to tell them that you think they're wrong, but you have to do that. There's advice a very famous businessman gave me one time. He said, let your no's be no's and your yeses be yeses, and don't hang around in between, because a whole organization gets lost on in between. So be brave enough to say yes or no and take that direction. And to your question too, is there is a beauty in failure. You learn more by failing than you do by winning. So many people win in life or win at something, and they really weren't that good. They were lucky. And they'll keep running the same play. And I honestly think when you fail, sometimes it doesn't feel good. You never believe it, but you can learn more on your back than you can on your feet sometimes.
Good enough. All good?
Let your yeses be yeses and your no's be no. That's the most important part about that decision piece.
All right. Keep the faith. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for that amazing question, and your answers so thoughtful. Thank you, thank you. It's now time for our keynote, so please welcome Mira Aspinall, the pioneer and leader of diagnostics for over 30 years. She's the president of Genzyme Genetics, one of the largest IVD manufacturers, and CEO of Ventana Medical, Roche Tissue Diagnostics. She has served on the Health and Human Service Secretary's Advisory Council on Genetics, Health and Society in the Obama and Bush administration. And 8 years ago, she co-founded the Biomedical Diagnostics Master's Degree Program here at Arizona State University. She was named as one of the 100 most inspiring people in life sciences by Pharma Voice magazine and one of Women Inc.'s most influential corporate board directors. Who runs the world? Girls. Yeah, that's right. All right. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you, and thank both of you, and thank you, Eric, for this fantastic program. And while I didn't start my life as a Sun Devil, I can wear Sun Devil colors today. But I will say this is a very tough spot. I am between you and actually the announcement of the awards. But even more importantly, all of the day, all of our discussions have been about success and how to achieve success. So I'm going to be a little bit different, wake you up in the middle of the afternoon to talk about failure. And the last question started to get to it, but what is so important about failure? So what I'll start with is the fact that failure is the best way to learn. So how are we going to learn from failure? Not just one-offs after you stop crying, but on a systematic basis. So I'm first going to start by talking about what do other people say about failure. So you can see some great quotes here. My favorite one is Thomas Edison, who says, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that don't work." Well, it sounds good, but if it takes 30 years to find 10,000 ways, it's not going to work for any of your businesses. So what's even more important is the founder of Spotify, Dan, who talks about we aim to make mistakes faster than anyone else. And that is what's so important about failure, to fail quickly. Now, when I talk about this, everybody talks about Michael Jordan, was passed over in his high school basketball team. Well, what you don't hear is he grew 8 inches the year after that. So there was a reason that he failed there. So when I talk about failure, it's not always good, but it's also not always bad. And it's really important to differentiate between those types of failures. So I'm going to start by being very vulnerable, as all of you were vulnerable today, and pitching your companies to talk about 2 major failures that I've had. My first one is at Genzyme Genetics. I'm president there. We have the #1 cystic fibrosis prenatal testing. Many of you very young, but many people get tested for cystic fibrosis. It's the most common genetic disease, and among some ethnic groups, is as many as 1 in 8 are carriers of cystic fibrosis. So if you've got a lot of nods here, mom and dad, then you have a 25% chance of having a kid with cystic fibrosis. We're about 98% accurate with our testing. So 2% we miss for a variety of reasons. Put together a team, half of my R&D team, a $2 million budget, which was about 25% of my budget, to put together a new technology. The team spends 18 months, and what happens at the end of the 18 months? We can only get to 97.7% improvement, accuracy. So we've gone down. I've just put in $2 million. 20 people have given their lives. It's a lot cheaper. It will improve my margin about 5 points, which is huge in that business. But I had to call the program a failure. We could not get it above that 98%. There were people crying in the office. It was heartbreaking that people had given all of their effort for this, much less the company that we were going to go buy the supplies from just screamed and yelled at me. I had to close my office door. But there was no choice. Was that a failure? Well, in many ways it was. We had to acknowledge that. We couldn't put a new technology in. We couldn't improve the profit. It meant I had to cut costs in another part of the business. But that year I started the President's Award. And who were the people that got the President's Award that year? Not one, not two, but all 20 of the scientists who had spent 18 months in their life doing it. Now, unfortunately, this was a really tough problem. The company we were going to buy from did okay, but not great. And we never, to this day, LabCorp bought us for about $1 billion, never improved the technology. So it was a failure, but it was one that we embraced. And going forward, people were willing to go on those teams. If I hadn't recognized those folks and tell them they were success, people wouldn't take that risk. So remember that. Take risks. So the second story I'll tell you is I was #1 in startup funding in 2008. We were #1 in the country for diagnostics funding. You're not going to believe it. It was only 26 million. Doesn't seem like a lot of money now, but it was a lot of money then. We were on the front cover of all of the venture magazines. We were top 5 to watch, top 3 to watch, top 25 to watch. We were in every single list. And without the long, boring story, the company completely failed. And I really mean completely failed. We had a biomarker that we couldn't prove. We had an engineering technology with a new type of kind of a disc, and we couldn't make it work. We could not repeat the experiment that we bought from Harvard, even once. I get emotional as I think about it today. It was really hard. We paid a lot of money for the technology. I had venture capitalists who had put everything in that, and one of the last speakers talked about people. I had people leave their great jobs at big companies to come with me on the tiny company. It was tough, and I'm not too proud to say there were tears. There were a lot of emotions. And what had to happen? Well, in this case, I spoke to the board and I said, I'm out of here. I'm resigning. Out of here sounds obnoxious. I didn't do it that way. I said, I'm no longer the right person to run this company because the science doesn't work and I'm not a science person. I can commercialize a technology that works. So that, for me, was my other lesson. I went on to be CEO at Roche and Tucson and all worked out very well. My chief scientific officer was the right person to take over. So important to know what you do well, what you don't do well. Now, was this a failure under my watch and was I the CEO? Absolutely. Part of the reason I put this presentation together after I stopped, moaning. But it's so important to know from your failures why they happened and what was your role, good or bad. And then my favorite line from an old-time TV show that none of you would know is, it's what you do next that matters. So if I take that, what you do next, I'm actually not going to go through this, but it just says, if you allow employees to fail and you have them embrace it, you do better. You do better with the employees, you keep them longer, they're happier, and when you're public, you have a 65% higher share price or 65% lower if you don't do it. So this is not just being nice and have people smile a little bit more and come to the Friday afternoon journal club. This is about success. So you remember when I said you have to embrace the failure, own up to what you did wrong, but also understand what you didn't do. So this is work by Amy Edmondson at Harvard Business School. And it's my favorite work about failure because what she talks about is failure from the green as praiseworthy all the way to the red, which is inattention and, frankly, preventable. If you're a baseball fan, you're always going to have forced errors. You don't want unforced errors. So when you go through failures in life, when you have those tough times, I think it's so easy to say, the market stinks right now, our vendor gave us a hard time, I didn't get what I wanted. And that's some of the problem. But own up to what you and your team could have done better. And sometimes you're going to be all here in the green, where I was with cystic fibrosis testing. There is nothing they could have done better. You know, we had runs at 99%, but we ended up at 97.7. I had to deal with it. But there are other times where, you know, well, I don't know about you, I won't speak for you, but I know I've taken on too much and something has fallen through the cracks. And it shouldn't have, and I should have known better. I didn't ask that question for the last investment that I made, even though I knew it was in my mind and I should have asked it. That's inattention or process inaccuracy. So think about that. Don't beat yourself up too much, but acknowledge it. And if you do acknowledge it with your companies, with your friends, with your classwork, it's what I call destigmatizing. I mean, this is, again, Amy's work, but destigmatizing failure. And the key here, and I'm happy to make these available for anyone who wants it, is the goal. You can talk about preventing failure. So if you're an airline, you want to prevent failure, period, end of story. But what you really want to do in most of the rest of our world is promote fast learning. And I believe so often you kind of know when something's going to fail. And sometimes it's very natural to kind of push it off and don't do that last experiment. I would suggest think, promote fast learning. Figure it out, own up to it, and move on. When you run bigger companies, and I'm sure many of you will run small, medium, and large companies, most of the time, your best employees, even in a small group, they know when it's likely to fail. But sometimes it's groupthink and nobody wants to acknowledge it. Get it out there, move it forward. You will feel better for it. So what do we do about this? How do we succeed? So I'm going to say 3 rules now for me. Number 1, I just talked about it. Acknowledge the failure. Be honest about, if you're a baseball fan, again, you know what that means, forced and unforced errors. The pandemic is a forced error. You couldn't have anticipated it. But the errors that you could have known, should have known better, are called unforced errors because nobody forced you to make them. You made them. Number 2, analyze the failure. Go back to Amy's work and understand, was it intelligent? Was it complexity related? Are we doing too much? Or was it truly preventable? And go back. You know, I'm sure you've heard of fishbone analysis to look at where errors are in the system. This isn't to say not to do that, but this is, in my mind, at a higher level to understand fundamentally green, yellow, red, and then take on what you can learn from it. And lastly, and this is particularly important, I used to say in big companies, but I've learned, you know, it's much harder to run a small company than it is to run a big company, is nomenclature counts. You say failure as the boss too many times in the office, even if you say that was not a failure, they hear it. And there's a lot of sensitivity for nomenclature. So if you're the boss or you're the head of this program, or you're somebody who felt the failure, ask those questions because nomenclature counts. I always think about it as what you tell your roommate, your partner, your spouse, your kids at night. What happened at work today? And if they slug their shoulders and say, I'm going to cry right now, the program didn't work. You want them to say, okay, we failed, we're going to try it again differently, or we're going to have to change. And sometimes it says, this product is not going to work. Own up to it and move on. The most successful companies never went from A to B. They went from A to H to J to P, and then maybe back to B, or sometimes to Z. So think about that there and talk about that failure. Don't assume everybody's moved on. So I'll end here and happy to take some questions, but I also want to acknowledge that particularly for research-oriented companies, which most of your companies are, I talk about this risk and failure, but I want to acknowledge the reality, and I just added this because I had somebody at a big company where I was presenting this give me a hard time, and because he said I didn't acknowledge this, so I'm going to do it right now. The more you innovate, the less you know. So I talk about knowledge and not failing. So there's one way not to fail, which is never to take any risks, right? You've heard the skiing analogy, if you only ski green, if you're a pretty good skier, you're never going to fall. Is that the best you can do? Frankly, that's all I want to do in skiing. But the rest of my life, you've got to be able to innovate, but recognize the more you do it, the less you know. And those first few days, weeks, or months may really go home with a pit in your stomach. But overall, what I talk about, so I added that about innovation, is acknowledge this. The thought of the failure creates fear. But the reality of that failure most often creates opportunity. Use it. Take informed, calculated risks and embrace failure for what it can teach you. You're not aiming to fail every day, but you've got to have a few to truly create something that is new and different. And that's what you're all here to do. And many of you are going to win the awards to show that. So with that, I say thank you. Happy to take questions if there's time. And I know you will go forward with a few failures and a lot of successes. Thank you.
All right. Questions? Let's see. What do we got?
They are very excited to go to the awards. So I'm going to leave it at that. And feel free to email me, get in touch, and go forward. All the very best with your own inventions and excitement in the future.
Thank you for your honesty today. Yes, of course. Thank you for your insights on failure. It's such a great reminder that it's not a perfect path. I like the alphabet where all the letters are jumbled. That feels way more accurate than what we try to tell people. You gave us a chance to learn and to embrace failure, and so thank you so much for your time today. I know she's literally heading to Tucson as we speak. So let's recap real quick. We've met the senior provost and learned about innovation here at ASU. We participated in a live pitch event with actual investors. We all were reminded to wear retainers, and then we learned about the importance of failure, right? So now it's the part that you guys have been waiting for probably your whole life. It's time for us to talk about prizes. Cue the video.
Kyle Jeffrey, and I'm co-founder and COO of Darts Biosciences, and we are developing a novel therapeutics platform for an array of different rare and common diseases.
We are an energy efficiency research company that delivers profitable decarbonization to industries.
We transform wasted biomass into a sustainable alternative to palm oil.
We create alternative fuels. In specific, we make methanol from CO2 and water using renewable electricity. This is a sustainable drop-in fuel for the hard-to-abate sectors like aviation, maritime, and petrochemicals.
It's important for a product to make it to market because it proves our mission of sustainable packaging provided at a cost-effective level to our breweries.
Historically, there's been a lack of innovation in the women's health space, which results in women suffering when there's better technology that can be implemented in their healthcare. So I'm really passionate about improving that experience for women so they don't put off their own healthcare and actually get screened.
ASU IO is the opportunity to share your idea, to share your vision with a group of extremely talented and thoughtful experts who can enable you to take that vision to fruition.
So we did our presentation earlier this morning, and it went really well. The judges had really good questions for us. They clearly had studied our materials, so that felt really good. And they also gave us great feedback on how we might pursue different strategies moving forward.
All entrepreneurs kind of believe in their idea, but it's something else when someone else believes in you. And everyone that's in this ASU IO competition is really encouraging. They love the startup space. Even if they can't help you directly, they want to find someone that they know to be able to help you move the venture along.
which is really important because entrepreneurship can be a very difficult and drawn out journey. So these kinds of competitions can really make a difference in sustaining companies and kind of like getting them from the university stage to spin out into their own ventures.
Okay, we have 26 teams from around the world, as a reminder, who have traveled here today to compete for $400,000. In just a moment, 8 teams will leave with a little extra cash in their pockets. The prizes are $10,000 from the Pittsburgh Regional Health Initiative for Patient Safety, $10,000 from AVNet, which is a Judge's Choice Award, $25,000 from Source Global for the Technology for Social Equity Prize, $45,000 from Intel for the Water Prize. The next 3 prizes are from ASU, and they're rooted in innovation. So $50,000, we've got 2 of those, and then one $100,000 prize from ASU. And then the last one, prize number 8. It's $100,000 from eSeed for the Pay It Forward prize. Let's take a quick look at where some of these teams are visiting us from.
All right, everybody. Looks like we have teams representing the East Coast. Where my East Coast people at? All right.
Waking up.
Let's go Biggie Smalls, as well as the West Coast. Where's my West Coast people at?
Still over here. Okay, and we can't forget about the competitors from the Midwest. Yes, thank you. And the Southwest. That was terrible. Thank you. I'm a little embarrassed. Anyway, okay, sorry. Let's talk about our worldwide teams, Gabe. What do we got? Yeah, uh-oh, here he comes, here he comes. Man on the move.
You guys.
We have a very special guest here.
Dun, dun.
Thomas from Incipio. Thomas, will you stand up? I think you traveled the furthest from any team here. Can you tell us where you're from?
I'm from Aachen, Germany.
Yay!
I don't know where that's at, but it sounds really far. How long was your flight here?
Overall, I traveled 16 hours. The main flight from London to Phoenix was 11 hours. But I think the team from Austria traveled a little further.
What a generous. Where's my Austrian people at?
Right there.
Behind me.
All right, a little further. Well, I'm so glad y'all came. That's a tremendous distance to travel, and we're grateful that you're here today. Thank you.
All right, Gabe, I want to hear from another team. Actually, let's go with who's right next to him. I want to hear about Rhode Island. I'm still shocked that it's the smallest state in the U.S. So, Gabe, can we learn a little bit about them? You guys have to stand up, though.
Atomics.
I know, you've been sitting forever. You got this.
Right on. I'm here from Atomics, from Brown University, all the way from the smallest state in the country, Rhode Island. Thank you for coming. Tell us, how was your trip?
It was awesome, uneventful, which I think is the best way to fly.
No weather. Yay!
Direct flight, or did you have to transfer?
We had to transfer. The Providence airport's pretty small, but went from Providence to Philly and then Philly over here, so it wasn't too bad.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Okay, we got one more. We got to give it up for, where's Proper Pack at?
Local heroes.
There we go. Local hero here.
Oh,
I heard you came all the way. You had to cross the 101, the 202, the 10, and the 17. Is that true?
Yeah, it was a bit of a 20 minutes here. So it was
Wow. How did you do 20 minutes, 20 hours? Same.
Yeah.
Well, hey, man, you're so brave for making that journey. That's a lot of freeways to cross, and I appreciate you coming out today. Thank you.
All right, so we've met some teams, and we bought the judges some time today. Gabe, can you tell us, there's an added bonus with each prize. Not only cash, but there's an added bonus.
Oh, man, you guys. There can only be one. One Lord of the Ring. One who can bend to its will.
Hey,
and he does not share power. Oh, we got Sparky coming up, too. No, you guys, we have these really, really neat custom ASU IO rings. So I got carried away there a bit. But not only will y'all win cash, but you will also win this ring. And hey, who needs a Super Bowl ring when you got this? Wear it around your neck, put it on a chain, show off that drip. Let's go.
We have our extra special guest here to help hand out prizes, including our one-of-a-kind rings. We do have Sparky do some of the heavy lifting. Be careful, visibility is a challenge for Sparky, so work with, not against. Are you ready, Gabe, to announce prizes?
I'm ready. Let's get to it.
All right,
Let's get to it.
can I hear you? Are you ready for prizes?
All right, all right. So this first prize, if you could scroll up, please.
Drum roll.
Scroll down, please. Sorry. Here we go.
That's
and now, the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time to announce our winners and give away some money. First up, we'll be awarding $10,000 from Avnet. I'd like to please welcome to the stage Katie Stringham. Katie, please come up. Nice to meet you. Thank you. Come over here. Could you do us the favor of announcing the winner?
I would be honored to. So the Judges Award, the winner is...
Come on. Our lone cowboy.
Congratulations, congratulations.
Welcome, welcome. All right, we're going to start with a photo op. Sparky, would you head on over? Great, great, great. Do you want to tell us a little bit about why you selected them after you take the photo? Yeah, not at the same time. Ready? 1, big check. 2.
Big check. Hold on, here we go.
And Sun Devils on 3. Okay. Good work. Good work. Sparky, you can stay there. They need emotional support. So why did you choose them?
Well, obviously there was a judging panel this morning that went through all of the wonderful contestants that are here today. And Avnet's been a part of this competition actually since its inception 8 years ago. So we kind of sit in the middle of that technology world. We're a distributor and supplier, so we help tech companies get their products to market and help with that, all those supply chain issues. So, and I'm sure that anybody that watched the pitch video for this company was inspired. You know, who can look at a little baby with all those tubes coming out of them and not think that there's a better way to do that? So we're so excited to be able to, you know, give a little bit of seed money to help your project come to life, and we wish you all the best.
Imani, it was great meeting you last night. Thanks for coming out, and tell us a little bit about what you're doing. Tell us about your startup and how you're going to use the money.
So I'm so honored to be here, and thank you so much for the support. We are in the middle of our clinical study, so we're testing our device in the babies in the NICU. So this would really help us with the manufacturing of our next phase prototype and getting it through the regulatory process.
Yeah.
What's the biggest challenge you faced so far, and how did you solve it?
So other than the technology side, I think the biggest challenge for us is the regulatory. There are a lot of steps to go through, and we were lucky to have great mentors that helped us to get into the process, but there is a long way ahead of us.
That was great. Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Don't
forget your ring.
Sorry, you're going to have to compare that. They're about the same size. Yeah,
Put
there
it
you
on.
go.
Yeah, probably.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Woo!
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right. For our next category, I'd like to welcome to the stage Dr. Dave Mayer. Dr. Mayer, please come up.
Give it up.
Who's representing PRHI. Dave, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Please tell us a little bit more about the Pittsburgh Regional Health Initiative's Patient Safety Initiative, and what was your criteria? What were you looking for in the awardee?
I'd be glad to. I just saw that photo of me, and that was my pre-retirement photo. I grow my hair a little longer now, but I am representing the Pittsburgh Regional Health Initiative. They're a global collaborative combining caregivers, patients, agencies, policymakers, trying to make care higher quality and improve safety, not only for patients, but for our caregivers. And many people don't realize that in studies done, in fact, one out of a lot of people are here from Hopkins, by Marty Macri, that patient safety and medical errors are the third leading cause of preventative death in the United States, behind cancer and heart disease. And we have so many wonderful people in healthcare who come to work every day to try to heal, to try to do good, but the systems and processes that we have in place for them, unfortunately, haven't met the needs. And so we're trying to bring in human factors engineering and other things similar to other high-risk industries to improve lives. And so we reviewed all the applications today. In that scope of line, what is it that if it came to market literally today would lower risk and improve outcomes?
That's incredible. I really admire the work that you all are doing. Thank you. Now, would you do us the honor of announcing the winner?
The winner is Real Free.
All right. Come on up. Congratulations. 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 Let's get a big check in the picture. All right. Let's get a picture here. Oh, you gotta get in there too. Yeah.
Get in there.
Great. Let's learn a little bit about your company. Tell us, what inspired you to start your company?
Yeah, so we're actually brothers, and our grandfather was on supplemental oxygen, and he had a fall on the tubing that sent him to the hospital. So we initially created it just to help our grandfather before we realized there was a need for it in healthcare.
What an incredible story. When it's personal, it just makes it that much more impactful. Tell us a little bit about your product. Tell us what the innovation is.
We developed an automated reel-in spool to manage oxygen tubing in healthcare, long-term care, and patient rooms to prevent 570,000 falls annually.
That's incredible. Dave, let's peek into your brain a little bit. What impressed you most about Real Free?
Well, clearly it was something that I think could get to market very easy. You could see it coming out in the next year or so. And falls, as you brought up, are a leading cause of injuries within hospitals. Elderly people trying to move around rooms, and as in the case of their grandfather, trip over the tubing that's giving them the oxygen they need to be alive. Also from healthcare workers. Many of them, falls is like the third leading cause of injury of healthcare workers in hospitals today. So you look at that and you say, we need this, and we need it soon. So congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
Couple more questions for we. What are you gonna do with the money? What's the biggest challenge you think that you'll face coming in the next year?
Well, not to follow up the previous, but FDA is a challenge. And another big challenge has been fundraising, so this definitely helps.
2 birds, 1 prize. Yeah. Congratulations.
Congratulations again, guys. Really, really phenomenal work. Thank you again, doctor. You can keep the mic.
It's like a field
Make
trip.
sure you get your
a
ring.
check,
there.
you get a ring.
Check and a ring. A check and a ring.
Yeah, keep it. You guys have to hold it
Okay.
like, bring it to Christmas, all holidays. Yep. Perfect.
All right, everybody, we're cranking along. So the next prize we have here is for Source Global, the Technology and Social Equity Prize. I'd like to welcome back to the stage Cody Friesen.
Everybody, again.
All right, Cody. Thank you again. Yeah. All right. Tell us a little bit more about Source. Tell us about the prize and what you saw on the winning team.
Well, like many of you, the technology that became Source Global was developed inside of a university lab here at ASU, inside the Fulton Schools of Engineering. And one of the beautiful things about the university system is that there's a huge brain trust, and we can go solve big problems. And then if we're working on what's sort of referred to as translational research, we can go from the beaker at the lab bench to technology, to product, to scale in the field. And so Source, we went after solving the global problem of drinking water, which of course is humanity's greatest problem. Today, on this day, women and girls will spend 200 million hours fetching water. One person will die from waterborne illness every 10 seconds on this planet. And we thought, what if we could do for water what solar did for electricity? And so we developed the Source Hydro Panel, which is now installed in 56 countries around the world, solving water wherever we are, with a single technology that looks a heck of a lot like a thick solar panel that instead of taking in sunlight and making electricity, takes in sunlight and air and makes water. It's quite special, and as a result has generated all the prizes and everything else that Eric was mentioning earlier, and we're really proud of what we're doing.
That's incredible. Would you like to do us the honors of announcing the winner?
Sure. So we fund the Source Technology for, Technology for Social, whatever. It's a great prize. What's it called again, Eric? Technology. There we go. Technology for Social Equity. Because we believe that technologies can be used to lift people up. And so the prize this year is Oleo Sustainable Palm Oil. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Let's get a picture here, guys.
Okay.
You guys get on the other side of Sparky, everybody? Yep. All right, photo op. You got it?
All right. Could you tell us a little bit about your product?
Sure. So at Oleo, what we do is essentially transform wasted biomass into a sustainable alternative to palm oil, with the goal of halting palm oil-driven deforestation.
That's a lot of deforestation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, quite a bit.
What are you going to do with the money? What do you think is your biggest challenge? How are you going to put this money to work?
Yeah, that's a great question. Right now, we're at a benchtop scale in the lab, and we're trying to spin it out, bring it to commercial scale production. So as we work to scale our technology, we need bigger and bigger bioreactors. So this will help us purchase a larger bioreactor so that we can get to customer trials.
I think that'll be a decent-sized bioreactor. That's what I'm hoping. Cody, can you get us into your thought pattern? Why did you pick them? What are you excited about?
Well, this particular excites me because I spend a lot of time flying into various places in Southeast Asia. And whether you're flying into Kalimantan or flying into Penang or flying into Kuala Lumpur and many, many places, you just see rows and rows and rows and rows of palm oil trees, whole, checkerboard patterns across mountains and mountains and mountains that would have otherwise been the Borneo rainforest. And so the idea that we can make palm oil, which is it's just a huge number of products in your homes and in makeup and in shampoos and all sorts of things. If we can make that while reducing the arable land required to have all the wonderful properties of palm oil, that would change the world.
Let's change the world, guys. Thank you so much. Let's get the ring. Got a ring here. Presentation. Thanks again, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cody.
Yep.
All right, moving this along, I am pleased to welcome Mackenzie Koenig from Intel to present their water prize of $45,000. Oh my gosh. Mackenzie, come on up.
Round of applause, please.
Aplauso.
Thank you.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, no, please.
Oh no, I was going to say, please tell us about what you're doing at Intel and why you picked this winner today.
Yeah, first off, really excited to be here. This is my first year and happy to be representing Intel. Intel is very focused on innovation, corporate responsibility, and sustainability. And we're really excited to be able to support this competition and help foster growth in the innovation ecosystem.
Oh my gosh.
We're so grateful to have you as part of the competition and everything that comes with. But without further ado, could you do us the honors of announcing the winner?
Our winner today is EcoBrew.
Come on up. Go. Congratulations. Congratulations, brother. Picture.
Congratulations. Tell us a little about your company, what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we're working with breweries, and if you imagine a pint full of beer, that's all CO2. Breweries spend an enormous amount of money on that CO2 to carbonate their beer, but they're naturally producing more than they need, and it's just getting wasted, sent right to our atmosphere. So we're capturing, purifying, and recycling it for them to use to become totally self-sufficient and help them save money.
I'm curious, what inspired you to start this?
Honestly, it was a whole bunch of pivots and pivots and pivots, and I was talking with breweries about their CO2 usage, and they said, hey, we're making it, and we're using it, and can you just do something with that? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And it didn't hurt that it was working with beer, and everybody's really laid back, and I love to go out and get to test some beer every week.
That's incredible. Mackenzie, if we could peek into your brain, what impressed you the most? What did you learn? What excited you about EcoBrew in the interview process?
Yeah, all of these teams. I mean, what an incredible group of people. All of these teams had very innovative ideas. One of the things that really stood out was how well you've defined your market and your market strategy, and we really think that you guys have what it takes to grow in this space. So that's why we chose them as our group.
Incredible. One last question for you. Tell us, how are you going to use the money?
Yeah, so we're about to deploy our first full-time pilot and by the end of next month, and we're planning to use this to start deploying more units right here in Birmingham, or right over in Birmingham, Alabama, where we're based.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mackenzie. Thank you to Intel. Congratulations, and we look forward to your future successes. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna pass him that. Thank you. Awesome. All right, now we're on to the 3 awards from ASU. I'm pleased to welcome Tracy Dodenhoff from ASU to the stage to present those awards. So that's, again, 2 $50,000 prizes, 1 $100,000 prizes. Tracy's heading up now. She is the new Vice President of Entrepreneurship and Innovation at ASU and has an extensive background as an executive at multiple startups as an investor. You should have had her on the panel. Tracy, can you tell us what you were looking for the first $50,000 award?
Sure, and I also want to say my teammates are here with me because at ASU, entrepreneurship runs through all of us. And I've been here about 6 months. I'm a tech entrepreneur myself, so I have so much compassion and respect for everything everyone's doing here. But I think it was really important to show that really, honestly, this is an ASU cultural thing. We're here to support entrepreneurship. And the reason we are, getting back to your question, is because we're focused on impact. We want to have impact. We want to support those who want to have impact. And so we're really excited to be part of this and hand out some funds today.
I love that. So we're going to make an impact with this first $50K award. Do you mind doing us the honor and letting us know who won that?
I'm going to ask Dean Squires to
do
do
a
it.
handoff.
So this first award is to a team where ASU is an institution about access, and this is a startup about making their technology accessible, affordable, and adoptable. It's Breathe EV.
All right, get together, guys. Look at those smiles. Well done. All right, so I've got a question for you. What is your name? Max. Max, nice to meet you. Can you tell us about the solution in 10 seconds or less? Go.
Yeah. We build software for electric vehicle charging. We built the first reservation system, so now you can find and reserve chargers.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I have an EV car. Thank you for that. I feel like maybe I could drive to Flagstaff now. That's great. What are you going to do with the funds?
Yeah, this is going to allow us to launch or double the number of sites that we have out in the market. So very excited to get out there more and drive up a revenue.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Don't forget your ring. All right.
There you go, Max.
All right, now we have our second $50,000 prize. I want to hear a little bit about the thought process as you were selecting the second venture.
So again, looking at big, audacious problems, companies that want to have impact, and things that affect all of us was really kind of the driver behind selecting this.
Okay, so I'm interested to see. Who did you select? Are you ready?
Are you guys ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Oxalis.
Woo! Who needs stairs?
Good job, guys.
Awesome. So why Oxalis? Why did you? You got now? I know why. Yeah, you guys want to tell me all about you, but I want to hear from the judges first. Why did you select them?
Well, I think there were a lot of things in their business model that were really compelling. They're combining a big vision with some pragmatic thinking, like for example, utilizing existing infrastructure, things like that. So it was a good pitch.
Nice job. Okay, and now I want to hear the pitch. Go ahead, give it to me. Just quick though.
Yeah, so we convert CO2 into green methanol, and doing this in a novel chemistry pathway done through CO2 electrolysis.
Amazing. That was so quick and easy. I don't know what that means, but I'll Google it. Thank you. Can we give them a round of applause? Thank you.
The ring, you guys got the ring?
All right, our last
Ring,
ASU
ring.
Innovation Award. Can you guys tell me a little bit about, okay, we've now jumped from 50K to 100K. That probably means that this team is doing something really, really well. What were you looking for?
Well, everybody's sort of aware of the AI revolution. Everybody's aware of how data is becoming commoditized, and we have this massive onslaught of data that we have to access, store, sometimes store for very long periods of time. So our winner enables us to potentially store data at densities that are many orders of magnitude higher than are currently being stored. And so...
Go ahead. Yeah, no, don't let me stop
Atomics,
you.
where are you?
Woo! Yay!
I'm pretty sure they guessed that it was them as soon as I started talking about data. Congratulations. Congratulations.
I wasn't joking when I said big things from a small state, y'all.
Over here, guys.
All right, so this question goes to the founders. What will you use this capital for?
This money will be used to help build out our engineering team. All the capital that we're getting is going to be used to help build out the engineering team. We're chemists, and so we have the chemistry side of molecular data storage down. Now we need to build devices, and so we're really excited to be able to hire and do that.
Okay, so you're going to probably hire a bunch of ASU students. Well, $100,000, maybe we're going to hire, like, I don't know.
One
ASU student. But, you know, what we were looking for, or what we saw in this that was so beautiful is the parallelizability. So these guys are using 1,500 different small molecules that can be written into a single little dot that then can be read by either mass spec or optically. So you can, in parallel, read up 1,500 bits at this moment in what would otherwise, in that same space, maybe only hold one bit. And so challenges they'll have to do is accelerate the rate at which they can write and read, but the core strength is density, super low cost, very environmentally safe, and can be stored for potentially centuries. So congratulations on everything you've done so far, and what an amazing idea, and good luck.
Yeah, I just want to say, not only did they win $100,000, they also pitched, so go to their website because they have jobs now. So that was also an opportunity for hiring. They're hiring. Can we give them a round of applause? All right, and to the trifecta of amazing, our ASU team, thank you so much for giving us those 3 awards. This time I'll invite Gabe back to the stage. He'll give our final prize of the day. Gabe.
All right, guys, we're getting there. We're on the home stretch here. Last, but certainly not least, I am very excited to announce our final prize of $100,000. Please help me welcome back to the stage Mr. Tom Prescott for his Pay It Forward prize, sponsored by his eSeed program. Tom, can you tell us a little bit about eSeed and what your thinking was for this event?
I'll start by saying the idea behind the Pay It Forward started 10, 12 years ago when we wanted to incentivize this kind of pitch contest here. And the only ask in return was, with your success, you find, some other part of the ecosystem, some other founders, some other little struggling company, and help them. Is that a fair deal?
Yeah.
That's the only payback we're looking for. Plus, 20% for $100,000. No. Just
Better than Y Combinator.
We're not investing.
Yeah.
We are granting. Cash is hard. I said this is non-dilutive financing, which is the best thing you can get. So what I'm going to say is I had some travel issues. I couldn't get in this morning early to judge, but I've talked to the judges, and they said this group of companies was really, really tough to sort out. There were a couple They were all great, and there were two that were very tight, but both of the ones that scored the highest for the judging panels had a couple combinations. One, they had clear paths towards a business. They had big markets, disruptive ideas, and scalable. They're both going to need capital. So what I'll say to the winner is, this is a down payment, and don't think of it as the mountain too high to building a business and a break even and all those things, because you're having those discussions with investors someday. Just realize this is your next most critical milestones in the path of many, and don't look up at the height of the mountain, right? Just go kick butt in this next big chunk. So this prize goes to Somnair. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this company?
Yeah, so we're developing a non-invasive neurostimulation oral appliance to treat obstructive sleep apnea, which affects 1 in 8 people in the United States.
So what's your question?
What caused you to start it?
Yeah, so we were shadowing in the clinic, and we noticed that there were specific patients that were going untreated. And this broke my heart because my dad and many people I know have OSA, and I know how much they can struggle with it.
That's incredible. Tom, give us a little bit of insight on your pick here.
Well, so the team felt there were several things. You have a novel device. You have probably a different regulatory path, which is a little bit easier, but not easy. Big markets. A lot of people have alternatives. You've got a big player in the CPAP market that's basically shutting down in terms of Philips with an old Respironics acquisition. You've got CPAP and BiPAP when a patient hates the treatment, it's hard to get them excited about compliance. So if you really have, said we know a little bit about sleep apnea, but if you really have a path forward, it's worth doing. You got a very big market and potential exit with some other players. So I'd say good luck. It's hard, but go get them. All right. Cheers.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you again. Congratulations. Congratulations. Whew, you guys, we did it. We did it. I can't believe the awards are over. And we gave away $400,000.
That's unreal.
That's like a lot of zeros. That was freaking incredible. Was that exciting or what?
Honestly, I'm so excited for the winners today. I can feel their energy. There's a lot of excitement and a lot of momentum. This is a truly once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for many of the teams here.
I agree. They put in the work. Prizes are well-deserved. Lots of sleepless nights. Lots of thought, lots of collaboration. I've just been so inspired. Spending the time with all of you guys has been just energy going into my body, which has been incredible. Y'all give everybody so much hope for the future. Now let's do this. Remember, pay it forward. This change starts with you. Get involved, help each other out, and let's meet some of these founders. Thank you again.
Everybody, that concludes our show today. Thank you again to our sponsors. Without you, this event would not have been possible at all. I want to thank all of our judges, our mentors, everybody who came onto the stage, our keynote, and really a massive congratulations to all the teams for traveling here and participating. Thank you to Arizona State University for hosting, everybody behind the scenes, running behind the scenes. We invite everybody to stay so that you can ask the teams questions and pick their brain. But first, we need a huge family photo.
All right, everybody, can we please get all of the finalists back to the stage for one more photo?
Everybody up.
Come on.
We got 2 ramps over here.
All the finalists, please, back
You
to
can
the
also
stage.
just
Back
step.
up here, yes, please.
Yeah, can't leave that backpack. All right, squish together. Short people in the front. Something I know too much about.
Good posture, maybe I can make the back. Tippy toes.
Squeeze it in. Squeeze it in.
Squeeze it in.
All right, you and me switch.
Third row. Third row. Come on. Third row.
Remember, if you can't see the camera lens,
Come on,
you
scoot
can't
down,
see
Austria.
you.
Let's go. Oh, hold on. Hey, Gabe. We got a team that's hanging out with Joy.
All right, squeeze it in more. Come on, guys, squeeze it in, please. Squeeze it in.
Hey, team with Joy. Joy team.
I think Oxalis. Oxalis.
Oxalis. Hey, can you join us for a split second? Sorry to be rude. I know, you're making deals. I get it. That's what you should be doing.
Let's go, guys.
Not
Come on,
taking
come on.
photos.
Let's
All
go.
right.
Let's go. Here we go. Here we go. Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you for everybody
Thank
who's
you all
tuned
so
in
much.
online
Thank you.
from Tempe, Arizona. My name is Tristan Gandolfi. I've got,
I'm Gabe Ramirez from McKinney.
we want to thank you. This has been our 8th ASU IO, and I hope we've empowered the next generation to pursue their dreams. Have a great day.
With that, we're signing off. All right, Sparky, good job. It's for you. It's for you. Tristan, it's for you.
Oh, hi. Go pick my kid up from school. I'm on it.